Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Bullet TV. This is our special edition of the coverage of the 2026 mid-year budget review. It's a crucial day for the finance minister as well as everybody else in Ghana because we are waiting to hear the government account for all that has happened for the past 7 months and what lies ahead. I'll be doing this with my co-anchor, Eben.
Yeah.
If you're a regular of the morning show, Eben is no visitor, and me, Karen Aintree. So from now till the minister presents the mid-year review, till we hear him, till he's done, we will be in the studios to bring you analysis of what he says, assess what has been done so far, and of course, we're not going to do this alone. We'll be joined in studio by some experts and analysts. And we promise to give you a very impactful and insightful show. But before we delve into today's conversation, let's bring you a recap of what happened in Parliament some 8 months ago. That's the 13th of November, 2025, when Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Ato-Forsyth appeared before the House to present the main budget for the year. But even before we hear from the Finance Minister, I want to get your assessment. What stood out for you last year when he presented the budget, and what are you going to mark the government on?
Okay, so you know how first of all, good afternoon to our listeners. We are streaming live too on Facebook, so please do well to comment, like our page, comment, and then share. Thank you so much. So where we came from, I'm speaking now in regards to 2024, the challenges that confronted us as a nation that forced us to change governments and all of that. Classical Ato, as is being known now, announced at the time about how frugal government was going to be when it comes to spending.
Sure.
And then the expectation to be creative when it comes to collecting taxes. So I was particularly excited about that. That was the time the e-levy and then the term they used for it. E-levy, betting.
I remember.
There was a political
name is not
term,
coming.
for the lack of a better word, let's say irrelevant levies, for the sake of this conversation.
Irrelevant levies.
That's when they dropped all those levies, and then the whole messaging was more like, we are going to find a way to raise revenue. So don't worry about these other ones. We are going to take care of everything. I was particularly looking for that creativity. I was also looking for how they were going to raise,
Since they've scrapped that one.
Yes, because those monies from e-levy, whatnot, total was about 80 million that the previous regime was really relying on. So I was wondering how they were going to fill in for that gap. 8 months down the line, we haven't seen
anything yet.
Anything.
And I'm glad you've talked about not seeing anything yet, because when we hit the streets and we speak to the average Ghanaian, everybody tells you that, okay, we say the numbers are doing well. Inflation has been stable, actually hovering around 5%. The city has also been performing well, but then people are not seeing it in their pockets. And for me, that has been the disappointment, because when the finance minister was in Parliament last year, he mentioned that we are now going to see a translation of the figures. For the
From stability to
translate. So if you say you're resetting the economy to ensure that people feel it, we are yet to feel it. And if some will say, oh, the year is still young. It's not still young.
No, it's not.
We are in the 7th month. And so I am hoping that with the remaining months left, the minister will review, not just review us and give us a review of what he has, but then review some of their plans that they mentioned last year, and hopefully we can see some translation into people's pockets. So let us bring you excerpts of last year's presentation, some key points the minister noted as to what was going to be the focus of this government.
When this administration took office, we met an economy in distress weighed down by debt, weakened by mismanagement, and stripped of confidence. Mr. Speaker, in the 2025 budget, the 2025 budget was our first act of courage, a declaration that Ghana would rise again through reforms, discipline, and visionary leadership. Right Honorable Speaker, the theme for this year's budget draws from the President's profound words in his 2025 State of the Nation address, when he declared that, Mr. Speaker, quote, "Today, inspired by Almighty God and propelled by the massive mandate given to me by the people of Ghana, I am moved to make a purposeful and bold declaration that I, John Dramani Mahama, will fix the economic crisis confronting our country and reset it on the path of growth and sustainability." Right Honorable Speaker, it is with that same conviction that I present the 2026 budget under the theme, Resetting for Growth, Jobs and Economic Transformation. Mr. Speaker, under President Mahama's leadership, this government has chosen a harder but higher road, the road of reform, renewal, and resilience. We have restored fiscal discipline, brought inflation under control, stabilized the cedi, and rekindled investor confidence. This is not just a recovery, it is a reset. It is a story of a nation that refused to stay down. This is a rebirth from the ashes of daunting inheritance, the heavy burden laid upon us by the previous administration. Mr. Speaker, it is indeed a revival forged amid the tempest of hopes, harbored by the ordinary Ghanaian, whose spirit has long been weathered by 8 years of hardship, impoverishment, and shadows of deception. Mr. Speaker, it is the story of Ghanaians who endured hardships with dignity and held on to hope when the road was rough. Right Honorable Speaker, we have learned a powerful truth, and the truth is that fiscal discipline is the backbone of national progress. Mr. Speaker, there is no shortcut to responsible economic mismanagement. Mr. Speaker, there is no shortcut for responsible economic management. Never again must we allow recklessness, waste, and indiscipline to define how we handle the people's money.
And so you heard the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiel Atofo, saying if you're just watching us, please don't panic. That's not him yet. We're just bringing you excerpts from last year's budget presentation. And Eben, so we have the Finance Minister. Last year, many people listened and they felt that budget was a reassuring one. Yeah. But have we really felt it?
So one of the phrases that became popular in that budget reading was from stability to translation.
Yeah.
We are still seeing the stability, but it's left with the translation. Yeah. And that is a big question. We have, I don't know whether to say we have, per the expert, we've gotten the foundation right to be able to translate whatever gains we have gotten at the macro level. Now it's just left with how we can just get it felt in our pockets, in our wallets, and all of that. So we haven't seen more of that, and even if we have, I think it's been sectorial. So for instance, this morning we spoke to the folks, COPEC, in the petroleum sector, who highlighted some gains, or if you like, some of the good decisions made within the framework of this budget, infrastructure and all of that, but also mentioned the fact that we have a long way to go. And one of the things standing in the way would be this one Ghana cedi levy on all petroleum products. So we haven't seen the translation of the stability yet. We hope that this budget will paint a picture of how we are going to do it. Don't forget too that we just came out of an IMF program.
Yeah, we have to be cautious.
Exactly. And we have, I'm using we because I'm feeling patriotic today. we have projects to pursue. The 24-hour economy, for instance, how are we going to get funding for it? A few days ago, we heard about some plans to revamp secondary school education.
Yeah.
How are we going to get the funds to do all of that? Are we planning to locally fund these projects? And are we borrowing? You know, I've never heard this government say they will not borrow.
They haven't outrightly said that. So
And
there are questions.
Yes.
Where is the money going to come
exactly.
from? And those are questions that we are all hoping to get answers for.
Yeah.
We understand sitting has commenced in Parliament. We will be crossing over shortly, but then we'll also be bringing you live feeds from the House as we await the coming.
Yeah.
We await the coming of the Finance Minister,
That should have been our slack.
the coming of Atuforcing. The coming of Atuforcing to give us a review of the 2026 budget. But we've been doing a general assessment so far. There are some who of the view that in some sectors, it's possible that the government has done much. Some too might not be the same. So we're going to do a sectoral breakdown of what the minister said was going to be done, or what the plans for the government for that sector. So Eben, let's start with the transport sector or transportation. What did Dr. Kasela Atuforcing say about transport last year?
Okay, so last year he said investing in transport infrastructure connects people, communities, and opportunities. So he was just emphasizing the needs for to invest in our transportation sector, okay? And coming into this new regime, you see, in the last couple of days, we've been having this transportation issues.
Yeah.
Someone will think it just started, but it dates back to as far as the previous regime, you know? So I'm sure they saw that. They saw that situation and then, you know, carved their messaging around that too. Efficient public transports can make movements easier, safer, and more affordable. There is a research done by the University of Ghana. I would have to really find it out, but you would, after going through the research, you get to find out the amount of money we lose a day for just spending hours in traffic.
Waiting for public transport.
Yes. We see traffic and then we just think it's fatigue. But the longer the traffic, the more money we are losing. You know, so if we can follow through this plan and then invest properly in our transport sector, we may get the money we need to.
But you know, Eben, that's a challenge that many Ghanaians have. It's like the government has the blueprint.
Yeah.
They have the solutions.
We always do.
You say investing in transport infrastructure connects people, communities, and opportunities. We know. So show working.
Yeah.
The festive season from Christmas to January, when we saw people, you go to the bus terminals and you see people stranded and queuing for cars. Everybody came, everybody started talking. We saw the vice president visit the Ayalolo terminal. We heard that some 200 buses, is it from Israel or Egypt, were expected to arrive. And the situation hasn't changed. When you hit the streets at 5 p.m., between 5 to 7, it is
early in the
sad.
morning.
Or early in the morning, the rush hours is very sad. And it's as if we forget that there is an economic implication to all this. Businesses are unable to start on time. Businesses are unable to even get customers who can even purchase from them on time. And it's very frustration. And in the end, it affects productivity. So if we keep on talking about the need to invest and how efficient public transport can make movement, we all know that. But then where are the solutions? And that is what I'm expecting the minority to hold the government accountable for. It shouldn't just be about the shouts and all, but this is where I expect minority to speak and not make it a blame game that when we were there, we did this. No, like you're saying, this transportation issue, it dates back to the previous government.
And then there's better roads and reliable transport are essential to building a stronger economy. And it's true. The roads connecting us to our food.
The rural, the food
baskets.
baskets.
The food baskets. Deplorable. And if we are complaining about the cost of living and the cost of things despite the drop in inflation. One of the reasons is because of roads.
And you know, food inflation contributes as part of the basket that is used
Yeah.
to measure the overall inflation. And food inflation continues to be a problem.
Exactly.
So until we solve the problem of immotorable roads from rural areas to urban centers, we are still going to have a problem.
Yeah.
So it's beyond the bad roads. We don't have enough buses.
Yeah.
And the sad truth is people don't want to talk about it. Apart from those who are left stranded at rush hours, GPRTU hasn't been speaking so much about it. The Transport Ministry
No.
always shying away from giving answers. And so we are really hoping
Yeah.
the minister will address this matter
Yeah,
today.
yeah, very true. And then we hope that the big push, for instance, addresses some of these.
Yeah, true.
The agriculture. Now, the minister said investing in irrigation is investing in year-round food production. And then he also talked about mechanism.
I'm sure it's mechanization.
Mechanization, yeah, mechanization can help farmers produce more work, more efficiently, and create opportunities for the next generation. From the farm to the market, agriculture must create value, jobs, and sustainable growth. So this morning on the show, we were concerned about the feedback on the Nkukon Kitinkiti program launched by government, particularly with the statement made by the minister when he met the assurance committee that, yes, we have gone through with launching the project, giving out birds, but somehow we haven't gotten what is expected. People ate the birds, and he has videos of people who, and it was disappointing.
Very.
And over 200 million Ghana cedis is going into this project. So it makes you wonder. You begin to ask yourself questions. Do we really want to achieve these? Do we really want to create jobs? Are we looking for sustainable growth? Now, we are hoping that a program like Nkukon Kitinkiti will reduce the level at which we import chicken and poultry from outside. And this happens to be our very, if you like, supposed to be the most comprehensive approach to fixing it. And the report is just discouraging.
And I was quite disappointed to hear the minister actually admit that there are people who have eaten the birds. And my question is, before this policy was rolled out, what was the planning that went into it? Beyond just distributing the birds, are the farms monitored? Do you ensure that these people you are entrusting with the chicks, the day-old chicks, do they have what it takes to raise them or to actually rear them for farming? And as you even invest these chicks into the Nkukon Kitinkiti program, what are the plans to ensure that should we have a glut, how do we manage it? Because earlier this year, we had reports of egg gluts in parts of the country, and I visited Koforidua. And some of them were attributing it to the Nkukon Kitinkiti. I found it a bit strange because I was wondering how quick the birds would grow and start laying eggs. But then it brought my attention to the fact that, do we have a plan in the next year or in a few months when all these Nkukon Kitinkiti are now laying eggs? How do we absorb all these eggs? Because even for now, we have our farmers begging Burkina Faso to buy their eggs. Burkina Faso is also trying to grow and eat its own produce. So have we thought of all these for this value chain? So when the minister mentioned that people are already consuming their birds, it made us realize that there might not be that surveillance or supervision, monitoring evaluation for that policy. So the agri sector, I have been very disappointed as to the attention that has been given to the agri sector, because we keep on talking about job creations, and I feel it's one of the low-hanging areas that
Yeah.
the government can take advantage of.
Yeah. All right. So from agric to another sector,
Yeah, to the right, yeah.
education. Yeah. Another big one. So strengthening education means strengthening Ghana's human capital and future development. A better educated Ghana is a stronger, more productive, and more prosperous Ghana. Every child deserves access to quality education and the opportunity to reach their full potential. And I would say I'm okay with the work done so far by the education minister. He's been hardworking. I think he's perhaps one of my most hardworking ministers. The last one being the plans to reform secondary education, including to include more practical TVET,
Yeah.
AI,
Yeah.
so that it wouldn't just be the read, chew, pour, and pass. It will be more. You'll be a full person, for the lack of a better term. You'll be complete even before you get into the university.
Yeah.
You have something to work with, something to make money with, you know. And if you want to make the easiest cash, it's not through journalism, it's through TVET. Yes, you know.
Don't discourage anybody
No,
admiring
this
us
is not to
out there.
discourage anyone, but if you want raw cash in your hand, TVET is one area you would
Yeah,
want to
being
venture into.
practical.
Yeah, so, and I think we are into that direction. We are into that. I'm only concerned again about how we were going to achieve these because they are,
Funding.
yeah, capital intensive.
I agree with you on the sector minister's performance. That's Haruna Idrisu.
Yeah.
A couple of days ago, he took his turn on the accountability series, and he mentioned the fact that government is now looking at education holistically. We've had several policies and initiatives for education, but it targets a part of it. For instance, the free senior high school program, it was a very brilliant one, a very excellent one. We saw numbers increase, but the question has been, if the foundation is not good, how do I get to the senior high school level to even enjoy? But Haruna, a couple of days ago, announced that government is now going to focus also at the basic level,
KG.
at the KG level. So the foundation is strong. We are able to target them from that level, ensure that there's quality there, there is access to education at that level, so you can even get to the senior high school level and enjoy the in a whole form. So I like where the direction is going now, looking at it broadly from the basic level, so that at least if you don't get the privilege to reach the senior high school level, you know you have a very solid foundation. We have so many older generation folks who don't make it to the senior high school university level, but their English is quite impeccable. And that's the kind of foundation we want. Not to say that you should just stop along the line, but so that wherever you are, you can be able to express yourself because you still got quality education, whether or not you went to a private or a public school.
All right. So from education to health. One of the things that the minister said was investing in healthcare is investing in the well-being and the future of every Ghanaian. A healthier Ghana is better positioned to achieve sustainable economic and social development. Supporting healthcare workers and health institutions is an investment in the people. And again, Minta Akando. Well,
he's had his moments this year.
Yeah. He's had with the labor issues.
Yeah,
the labor issues. But if I'm to just reflect on the summit we held yesterday, I think we have a very ambitious plan as far as the health sector is concerned. You know, ambitious in terms of what we want to do, and then the funding that would go into it. And we have hospitals from Agenda 111.
Yeah, still waiting.
We are still waiting for them to operationalize them. We have projects still on that program that needs to be completed. I think it's the politics of the sector is what may be the biggest weakness
To health, yeah.
Minta Kando and then the health ministry, especially because of Agenda 111. It was a brilliant intervention.
Yeah.
You know, COVID-19 exposed our health sector
yeah.
and the system. And Agenda 111 was supposed to be one of those interventions to fill those gaps. But somehow, I think there's that, though they've promised to complete it, there's still that hesitation, if I can use that word, to really follow through. We have nurses that are looking to get employed,
Placements
and hospitals running with AC, with facilities, but nobody
to work.
Recently, I think it was just a few days ago, last week, I could be wrong, that the Wager Children's Hospital was allowed to get operational.
Yeah.
This was after the MP for the area made a lot of...
And there was a demonstration
Exactly.
and all
So
that.
the potential to do well in this field is there. And I think it's not just for Ghana. That's the interesting thing about the health sector. Because of the agenda John Mahama is pushing globally, we have that opportunity, you know, we have the world looking at us.
Yes.
You know, so in as much as we may think we are solving a problem locally, I think it's positioning us
on the global front as well.
Yeah.
And we spoke to a health analyst yesterday, Samuel Arthur, and he's been talking about how you mentioned politicizing our health issues. He's been talking about how politics has been a problem for this particular sector.
Yep.
You know, the health workers are going through a lot, but then most of them are afraid to even speak up. Most of them are afraid to tell the true situation on the ground. And that's one thing they are hoping will change. Earlier this year, when the Komfo Teaching Hospital issue happened and their head was suspended, the health workers were very peeved because they felt the minister was shying away from the actual problem. And he was just trying to be the hero in the situation by penalizing the head of Komfo. But they felt the real problem on the ground was they were overstretched.
Yeah.
And that decision at that moment was the best to take. And so they feel the politics in the health sector is another reason why they are not seeing the full potential, as you said. Because health is a big deal. And we're hoping that when the minister speaks today, he will talk about the nurses, their placement, also talk about some of these hospitals, Agenda 111 hospitals, that are waiting to see the light of day.
Yeah. So the next one, a very big one, I would say the core of today's review, revenue mobilization. Now, this is what Dr. Forson said in November 2025. Improving tax compliance means creating the resources needed for national development. Better revenue mobilization helps government fund essential services and reduce reliance on borrowing. And then modernizing revenue collection can make the tax system more efficient, fair, transparent. And transparent. So the attempt was there. They made this attempt with modernizing revenue collection, with the introduction of technology at the harbor. To, you know, make sure that we get what we were looking for, to ensure there were no leaks
in the system.
At the beginning, you know, change is not a very easy thing for people. Now, for a system that has for long been, of course, they had some technology going there.
It was more manual.
Exactly. So the introduction of AI brought in, according to the GRA, made the tax collection process more efficient. So I would say he did well over there. Unfortunately, we still fell, you know, below expectation. And then better revenue mobilization helps governments fund essential services and reduce reliance on borrowing. He's been known to be the minister who is not so big on borrowing. I feel we are going to do it anyway.
Well, let's see. Like you said, they've not ruled that out completely.
Yes.
But if you can see on our screens, Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbeng is seated, and so we are expecting the review to begin any moment from now.
Yep.
But until we see the Finance Minister, we're going to continue our analysis. And Ben, let's put a pin on the various areas the minister spoke about last year, and we have shared our expectations for today's review, but we also spoke to some Ghanaians and they've also shared the expectations. Let's listen to them.
A bit of history too is good for you. So I thank you so much for it. Let me move on to the business of the day. As he stated, the House got to item 6 on the order paper, which is statement.
So far, I think it's been good considering how the economy has been managed. But aside the fact that we know that there has been an improvement in the currency, it's not really reflecting in our pockets. And prices of goods and commodities are still increasing. Anytime we go to buy something, there is an increase. And it seems like although at a larger scale, it may look good, on the ground, it's not as it's supposed to be.
Right now, we appreciate where the dollar is. But the dollar is very low, just the price are a little bit higher. You see, with our cell phones, the demands of the price is a little bit higher for us. So we are pleading to the minister that he should.
Yes, honorable members, please, I recognize the Deputy Minority Whip. He's on his feet. Let me give him the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with the application made by the majority leader, he said item 6, statement. And Mr. Speaker, I want to draw the attention of the maker of this statement to Order 91.2. Mr. Speaker, Order 91.2 states that a Minister of State may make a statement of government policy and the statement...
So it's still the live coverage of the mid-year budget review from Parliament. If you are watching, you may have seen that the Minister of Finance just walked in, and as historic and cultural of our Parliament, you find the majority side singing beautiful, positive choruses, and then something opposite from the minority. But we want you to get a real appreciation of what is happening. So our man on the ground, Prince Kwame Kuduga, has joined us to share some reports with us. Hello, Prince.
Hello, Eben.
How are you doing?
Well, forgotten country.
Okay. What can you see? What can you report?
Well, even as we speak now, the finance minister, just as you mentioned, Kesel Atofostin, PhD, just stepped into the floor of Parliament, led by the majority leader, Mahama Yareda. Now, we, as I reported earlier, sitting was expected to start at 12, but it started well after 2 p.m. because of that lecture that the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbeng, was offering at the Ghana School of Law to mark their 150th year anniversary. But as we speak now, all is set for the Finance Minister, Kesel Atofostin, to deliver the 2026 mid-year budget review. Now, what's happening on the floor is that the majority leader is moving for the variant of business of the House to go straight to the 2026 mid-year budget review. So if the House agrees, any moment, Dr. Kesel Atofostin will mount the podium to deliver that, budget review. So that's what is happening on the floor of Parliament. The Speaker has mounted the seat. The Finance Minister is in now. And the Majority Leader is moving the motion to have the Finance Minister present the media budget review. So that's what is happening, Eben. Okay. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, I've been engaging a lot of the members of Parliament ahead of what the Finance Minister would do. And key among the expectations of members of Parliament is investment in the Women's Bank, investment in the 24-hour economy, and how we'll sustain the gains the country has struck under the IMF policy. We know that this is the first time the Finance Minister is coming to Parliament after Ghana ended the IMF program. So what is the question is how is the Finance Minister going to sustain the gains, that we don't go back to the pre-IMF era? So that those, among other things, are the key expectations of members of Parliament. People say that the economy has made gains because the Finance Minister has refused to spend, or the government has refused to release funds for expenditure. That members of Parliament on the majority side vehemently disagree. They believe that you cannot be spending what we don't have. So it is, measure of prudence, but you cannot be, being prudent and refusing to spend until 4 years. You need to spend at a point. You need to make investment. You need to spend on development. You need to spend on health sector. You need to spend on education. Is the Finance Minister going to be keeping the budget tight always? This is what we want to know today. And so this is what is happening on the floor of Parliament. As we speak now, the Minority Leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, is on the floor. Usually, when one side makes a proposal or a motion, moves a motion, the other side will have to respond to either agree or disagree. And so if that is out of the way, any moment from now, Keshel Atuforsin will mount the podium to deliver his statement.
Prince, if you can hear me, what can you tell me about the costume? Because I see Minority all clad in black. Have you had a chance to interact with anyone on the Minority and why they are all dressed in black today?
Definitely, even since the incarceration of the NPP's Ashanti Regional Chairman, Bernard Chibusia, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, the Minority in Parliament have always been in black to protest what they believe is a miscarriage of justice and political persecution. And so today is no different. They are still in black. They've been in black since Parliament started sitting this week from Tuesday. And I believe that that is why they are still in black, because they are protesting the incarceration of Chairman Wontumi. Again, in fact, the Deputy Minority Whip and MP for Tolon, Habib Ipisu, raised the fact that the majority, anytime there is a budget presentation, are always in white. Today, they are a multicolored, dresses. And so that he was insinuating that even the majority caucus in the House are not confident in the budget that the budget review that is about to be read to the land. And so for costume-wise, today is not the first time the Minority is wearing all black to Parliament. In fact, since the sitting started on Tuesday, they have been in all black. Yes, and of course, the Minority Leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin himself, is leading in white kaftan, African print, and he's on the floor of Parliament. And so even costume-wise, that is the explanation of the reasoning behind it.
Prince, we'll come back to you again for more updates from Parliament. And that's our parliamentary correspondent, Prince Kwame Kudoga, sharing the look and feel from Parliament. But before the minister takes his turn to give that important presentation, let's get the expectations that various sectors in the economy have as far as this afternoon's reading is concerned.
I know that the 24-hour economy has, as of now, cost the government almost about 650 million. We have not seen any action taken on the ground. I mean, the 24-hour economy that was advertised to us during the campaign period is not a 24-hour economy that is being implemented now. You know, government promised us that they were going to set up industries that will create 3 jobs. I mean, and 3 shifts. So one job 3 shifts and 3 people. That was what we were expecting us from this government. But they came, as of now. They have invested so much. They've set up the secretariat. We have done a law for them. We've created the ambience for business to take off. But as of now, 24-hour economy is still in the gutters. It has still not come up. We want to hear something from them tomorrow. So we want to know the status of the policy. We want to know where they want to take it to in the next year. So the government should tickle my ears tomorrow on that. The second point is about the industrial sector with regards to vehicle assembly. You know that we do vehicle assembly in Ghana. As of now, we have 7 assemblers manufacturing about 14 different vehicles, brands. As of now, when we in government in 2017 to 2024, we brought something that has not happened before. When we brought this auto policy, we decided to eradicate or take out the VAT component on the cost of the vehicle, so that it will be very competitive. Because in Ghana, most of the vehicles we see are vehicles that are imported, second-hand vehicles imported, mostly over-age vehicles. So if we don't take out the VAT components on the assembled vehicles, they will not be competitive even to compete in business. So what we did for them is that under the auto policy, VAT was 0 under the Nekufuado's government. But with this government, as I'm talking to you now, Excellency Dramani Mahama and his finance minister, they brought back the VAT. And I'm expecting him to announce the cancellation of the VAT component again on these vehicles, and I'm expecting him to do that tomorrow. So these are my major 2 expectations that I expect the minister to announce tomorrow.
24-hour economy, many may argue that it's early days yet.
24-hour economy that was advertised is not a 24-hour economy that we are practicing. They advertised a policy clearly, and it was so clear. It was so clear that they said that they are bringing a policy that will take off immediately they win power. And that policy is going to make sure that one job is going to give 3 people the opportunity to work on that same job. And again, 3 shifts. So they brought a different model or a formula. They call the formula 133. As of now, that formula 133 has turned into formula 419. Absolutely nothing is happening. Because you said that immediately you win power, Kufuor people will come and get jobs. So that's what we expected. We didn't know that they were going to tell us that the 24-hour economy was going to be a private sector-led initiative. That they didn't tell us that now they are going to bring an afterthought policy called the 24-hour market. It's not in the policy. I have been challenging everybody last week, 2 weeks. I was on radio, Joy FM with, and I told them they should tell me where in the policy or the law that says that the government was going to set up 24-hour markets. It's not anywhere. We didn't have anything in the policy. So the 24-hour economy is just supposed to be under the industrial sector. We expect government to.
And so let's cut the expectations and now listen to the actual reading. We understand the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiel Ato Forson, has arrived in Parliament and has begun. So we're going live to Parliament, and we'll be back to assess the review.
So minus 2%, a primary surplus of 1.5% of GDP on commitment basis, and a gross international reserves sufficient to cover not less than 3 months of import. Mr. Speaker, beyond fulfilling a statutory obligation, these statements tell the story of where Ghana stood, where Ghana stands today, and where Ghana is headed. Mr. Speaker, I respectfully request the full text of this media fiscal policy review be captured in the Hansard in its entirety, while I present the highlights to this House. Mr. Speaker, before I present the details of our economic performance, we must briefly recall where we came from. I do so because the lessons of economic history must never be forgotten. Mr. Speaker, when this administration took office in January 2025, President Mahama inherited an economy on its knees. Right, Honorable Speaker, the economic crisis of 2022 was not merely an accident. It was the consequences of a series of wrong policy choices. choices about reckless spending, choices about excessive and binge borrowing, choices about lack of accountability, and a failure to level with the people of Ghana about the true state of the Ghanaian economy. Mr. Speaker, the consequences of those wrong choices for the Ghanaian people were so severe. The cedi depreciated at levels never seen before, eroding savings, businesses, business capital, and purchasing power of millions of Ghanaians. Inflation exceeded 50%, dramatically increasing the cost of living and placing basic necessities beyond the reach of many people. Real disposable incomes declined sharply. Interest rates surged, making credit expensive for the private sector. Investor confidence collapsed. International reserves fell to extremely low levels. International credit rating agencies downgraded Ghana's sovereign debt to levels never seen in our history. Mr. Speaker, Ghana lost access to the international capital market. The previous government implemented most painful debt restructuring program that imposed crude and painful haircuts on domestic and external bondholders. Financial institutions and individual bondholders also suffered significant losses, with many losing their lifetime of savings. Even pensioners were not spared the burden of crude and painful haircuts under the DDP. The Speaker, and businesses closed or relocated, jobs were lost, and many households that had escaped poverty fell back into hardships. Mr. Speaker, this is an honest account of the economy and the one that His Excellency the President inherited. We recount this event not to dwell on the past, but to remind ourselves of the heavy price of fiscal indiscipline, excessive borrowing, weak accountability, and dishonest economic management. Mr. Speaker, Ghana must never be brought this low again. Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker. These painful experiences must strengthen our collective resolve to safeguard macroeconomic stability and ensure that such a crisis is never repeated. As a nation, we must internalize the true cost of economic mismanagement and commit ourselves to sound economic stewardship. Some lessons cannot simply be taught, they must be lived. But once learned, they must never be forgotten. Never again, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this administration assumed office. When this administration assumed office, it moved swiftly and decisively to stabilize the economy and begin the work of national reconstruction. It was immediately clear that the old model of managing the economy had failed, and Ghana did not need incremental adjustment, but it needed structural reforms. We therefore took difficult but necessary decisions which were neither politically convenient nor painless. These decisions demanded our collective sacrifice, Mr. Speaker, but they were necessary to restore stability and rebuild confidence. Right Honorable Speaker, the progress Ghana is recording today did not happen by chance. Some have suggested that our recent macroeconomic gains are simply the product of good fortune. Others have attributed the recovery solely to the debt restructuring program or the IMF program inherited in 2025. But Mr. Speaker, I firmly disagree. Our recovery is as a result of superior economic management. Mr. Speaker, for emphasis, I firmly disagree. Ghana's recovery is as a result of superior economic management. Debt restructuring may create fiscal space, but it does not create fiscal discipline. Right Honorable Speaker, an IMF program may provide a framework, but it cannot substitute for sound policy, disciplined implementation, and political will. Sustainable economic recovery is built on good policy choices, competent economic management, and disciplined execution, and most importantly, courageous leadership. Mr. Speaker, the evidence before us is overwhelming. Ghana's recovery has been driven by a deliberate program of economic reforms implemented since President Mahama assumed office in January 2025. These reforms have strengthened public financial management, restored fiscal credibility, improved revenue mobilization, reduced fiscal risk, and reinforced macroeconomic stability. The results speak for themselves. Every major macroeconomic indicator has improved significantly. These outcomes are not accidental. They are the product of reforms, discipline, and sound economic management. Mr. Speaker, it is therefore important to place on record the reforms that have delivered this turnaround. Mr. Speaker, the recovery of the Ghanaian economy has been anchored on 3 key transformational policy reforms. These key transformational reforms are as follows. The first is fiscal correction. The second is the modernization of Ghana's tax regime. And the third is a complementary fiscal policy for inflation targeting and exchange rate stability. Mr. Speaker, the first key transformational policy reform was fiscal correction. The objective was straightforward. First, to assume control over public finances. Second, is to introduce new expenditure discipline. And third, to place public debt on a sustainable path. We therefore recalibrated Ghana's fiscal framework to ensure greater efficiency, stronger accountability, and fairer burden sharing across government. Right Honorable Speaker, the 2025 budget reset expenditure to 2023 nominal levels, eliminating wasteful spending that had weakened fiscal management over the years. As a result, primary expenditure declined sharply from 18.7% of GDP in 2024 to 13.2% of GDP in 2025. Mr. Speaker, a 5.5% adjustment without hurting economic growth. Most importantly, Right Honorable Speaker, the primary balance also improved from a deficit of 2.9% of GDP in 2024 to a surplus of 2.5% of GDP in 2025, placing public debt firmly on a downward trajectory. Mr. Speaker, a fiscal adjustment expenditure led by 5.4% of GDP in one calendar year. Mr. Speaker, this sent an unmistakable signal to Ghanaians, investors, and other development partners that fiscal discipline is the new order. Mr. Speaker, government also recalibrated the IMF program, shifting the emphasis from revenue-led to expenditure-led fiscal consolidation to achieve a fairer sharing of the adjustment burden. We amended the Public Financial Management Act to institutionalize a binding fiscal rule requiring a minimum annual primary surplus of 1.5% of GDP and a debt-to-GDP ceiling of 45% by 2034. These reforms signaled that fiscal indiscipline would no longer define the Ghanaian state. Mr. Speaker, aside, we established the Value for Money Office to strengthen expenditure efficiency, improve the quality of public expenditure, and ensure that every cedi spent delivers maximum value for the Ghanaian people. We established the Fiscal Council to strengthen fiscal oversight, transparency, and accountability. We undertook a comprehensive audit of government payables to eliminate irregular obligations. We also enforced expenditure control. Government amended the Public Procurement Act to require commitment authorization before procurement. Mr. Speaker, this reform firmly linked procurement to approved budget and restored discipline to public expenditure management across the government. Right Honorable Speaker, for the first time, state-owned enterprises are now bound by the commitment authorization, restraining them from spending beyond their means. Mr. Speaker, over the last 10 years, liabilities of state-owned enterprises have added the equivalent of about 3% of GDP to Ghana's public debt every single year. Mr. Speaker, this occurred because state-owned enterprises failed to honor their contractual obligation, compelling government to assume and settle those liabilities. This contributed to the sharp rise in Ghana's public debt. As a result, Mr. Speaker, the resources that would have financed critical infrastructure were used to pay those SOEs' debt. This is part of the reason why Ghana's debt grew unsustainably without the bridges roads, or hospitals to show for. Right, Honorable Speaker, what is the point of ensuring that ministries and even Parliament live within their means if state-owned enterprises are permitted to run up liabilities that the taxpayer are ultimately forced to pay? Mr. Speaker, it is therefore important to recognize that Ghana's debt challenge was driven not only by fiscal deficit, but also by the unchecked accumulation of liabilities by state-owned enterprises. This is precisely why the commitment authorization regime would have been meaningless and ultimately ineffective had state-owned enterprises been excluded from its coverage. Right, Honorable Speaker, we also operationalized the sinking fund to strengthen debt management and demonstrate to government that government is committed to meeting future debt obligations. We restored genuine fiscal decentralization by ensuring that at least 80% of the district assembly's common fund is transferred directly to assemblies to support local development. Right, Honorable Speaker, we reduced the number of ministers from 123 at its peak to 60, and reduced the number of ministries from 30 to 23 because, Mr. Speaker, because a leaner government is not merely good politics, but it's also a sound fiscal policy. We curtailed non-essential expenditure, including excessive foreign travel, workshops, conferences, and unnecessary vehicle procurement. We also discontinued low-impact programs like the Ghana Cares of Atampa and the U-Start to redirect scarce resources to national priorities. Mr. Speaker, the second key transformational policy reform was the modernization of Ghana's tax regime. The objective was very clear. First, to restore investor confidence. Second, to revive private enterprises. Third, to provide a relief to households and businesses, and also to increase domestic revenue through better policy, stronger compliance, and more efficient administration, not through higher tax reforms. We therefore abolished a number of nuisance taxes, including the following: e-levy, betting tax, COVID-19 health recovery levy, emission tax, VAT on motor insurance. Mr. Speaker, for the first time since 2015, we undertook comprehensive VAT reforms, removing distortions, improving efficiency, and strengthening compliance. More importantly, the reforms have left businesses with more working capital to invest, expand, and create jobs. We also introduced a sliding scale royalty regime for gold to ensure that Ghanaian people receive a fairer share of the economic returns from their natural resources. Right, Honorable Speaker, beyond tax policy, we introduced major customs reforms supported by artificial intelligence and other digital technologies to strengthen compliance, reduce leakages, and improve revenue mobilization. Since the introduction of the AI-powered customs reforms, monthly customs revenue has increased by approximately 17%, reflecting stronger compliance, more effective enforcement, and significantly reduced leakages. We also amended the misuse of the tax refund account, ensure that resources intended for legitimate tax refund was no longer used as a slush fund. Mr. Speaker, the results have been remarkable. Despite abolishing multiple taxes and introducing no new tax handle, non-oil tax revenue increased by 0.5% of GDP, from 12.6% of GDP in 2024 to 13.1% of GDP in 2025. Mr. Speaker, simply put, government collected more taxes in 2025 even after abolishing the nuisance taxes, including the e-levy. Right, Honorable Speaker, the lesson here is simple. Better policy, stronger compliance, and smarter administration will always deliver more sustainable revenue than higher taxes. Mr. Speaker, the third key transformational policy reform was the introduction of a complementary fiscal policy to support inflation targeting, ensuring exchange rate stability, and building external resilience. Central to this reform was the establishment of the Ghana Gold Board to curb gold smuggling, formalize the gold trade, and ensure that a greater share of Ghana's mineral wealth benefit the Ghanaian people. Through this intervention, Ghana generated an additional $15 billion United States dollars in foreign exchange inflows from gold, significantly strengthening reserve accumulation and supporting exchange rate stability. This single policy measure improved Ghana's current account balance by 6.4 percentage points from a surplus of 1.9% in 2024 to 8.3% in 2025. Mr. Speaker, this represents a 4 times increment of the current account surplus in just 1 calendar year. Mr. Speaker, this was not simply a gold policy. This was a macroeconomic stabilization policy designed to strengthen the city, build external buffers, and restore confidence in the Ghanaian economy. To reinforce these gains, government developed and is implementing the Ghana Accelerated National Reserve Accumulation Policy, GANRAP, with the objective of increasing Ghana's international reserve to the equivalent of 15 months of import cover by end of 2028. In a landmark initiative, Mr. Speaker, government has also reached agreement with large-scale mining companies to purchase 30% of their annual gold production for refining by local refineries, strengthening domestic value addition and supporting reserve accumulation. Government further amended the Bank of Ghana Act to make inflation targeting a shared responsibility between the Ministry of Finance and the Bank of Ghana, ensuring stronger coordination between fiscal and monetary authorities. Mr. Speaker, economic reforms must ultimately be judged by their outcomes. I now turn to the evidence of what these key transformational policy reforms have delivered for the people of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, the results of the last 8 months demonstrate that disciplined policies, competent economic management, and consistent implementation delivers tangible results. Real GDP growth grew by 6.0% in 2025, the fastest pace of economic expansion since 2019. Instructively, Mr. Speaker, non-oil GDP grew by 7.6% in 2025, the highest rate in 14 years, demonstrating that Ghana's recovery extends well beyond favorable commodity prices. Mr. Speaker, the momentum has continued into 2026. Real GDP growth reached 6.4% in the first half, exceeding expectations. Mr. Speaker, for the first time in our nation's history, the size of Ghana's economy exceeded $100 billion, firmly establishing Ghana as a major emerging market economy. Ghana's per capita income increased by more than $850 in just 1 year. Mr. Speaker, rising from $2,527 in 2024 to $3,385 at the end of 2025. This is the highest per capita income ever recorded in our country's history. It is therefore not surprising that Ghana is now recognized as the 8th largest economy in Africa. Mr. Speaker, these are not mere statistics. They represent higher incomes, stronger businesses, greater opportunities, and an economy with an enhanced capacity to invest in its people. The labor market is also improving. Unemployment rate declined from 13.7% during the first 3 quarters of 2024 to 12.8% over the same period in 2025. Multidimensional poverty, which measures deprivation across living conditions, education, health, and employment, declined from 24.9% in Q3 of 2024 to 21.9% in Q3 of 2025. Mr. Speaker, this simply means that about 950,000 Ghanaians moved out of the multidimensional poverty in just 1 year. Mr. Speaker, behind these statistics are the hundreds of thousands of families who now enjoy better living conditions and greater hope for the future. Right, Honorable Speaker, inflation perhaps tells the clearest story of all. Inflation declined from 23.8% in December 2024 to 5.4% at the end of 2025 and remained low at 5.3% in June 2026. Fiscal performance has also exceeded expectations. The primary balance on commitment basis recorded a surplus of 2.5% of GDP as at the end of 2025. By end of June 2026, we had achieved a primary surplus of 0.9% of GDP on commitment basis. We are firmly on track to achieve our end-year target of 1.5% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, prudent fiscal management has also translated into a rapid decline in Ghana's public debt. The debt-to-GDP ratio fell from 61.8% of GDP, 61.8% at the end of 2024 to 44.7% at the end of 2025 and reached 45% by end of June 2026. Mr. Speaker, Ghana has therefore already achieved its statutory debt target of 45% of GDP, years ahead of both IMF program timeline and the targeted date established under the Public Financial Management Act. Mr. Speaker, debt service is also consuming a far smaller share of government revenue. Debt service as a share of domestic revenue declined sharply from 55.7% in 2022 to 28.8% in 2025, freeing up billions of cedis for schools, hospitals, roads, and other national priorities. Mr. Speaker, for the first time since April 2014, Ghana's external and overall risk of debt distress has improved from high to moderate. Even more significantly, the joint World Bank IMF debt sustainability analysis has moved Ghana from unsustainable in 2023 to sustainable in 2025, and now for the first time ever to sustainable with room to absorb shocks.
Honorable Minister, please, First Deputy Speaker to take the chair.
Finance Minister, you may continue.
Mr. Speaker, interest rates are singing from the same hymn book. The 91-day Treasury bill rate, a benchmark for the cost of short-term borrowing in Ghana, declined from 11% in December 2025 to 5.73% in June 2026, representing a 536 basis point reduction. The 182-day Treasury bill rate also fell from 12.52% to 7.69%, down by 483 basis points. Mr. Speaker, similarly, the 364-day Treasury bill rate declined from 12.94% to 12.82%, a 12 basis point decline. And across the entire yield curve, average decline was 344 basis points. 2 years, 3 years, and 5-year government bonds are now trading within the range of 11% to 12.6%, compared with about 20% a year ago. Right, Honorable Speaker, monetary policy rate has also declined by a cumulative 1,300 basis points, from 27% in January 2025 to 14% in July 2026. Mr. Speaker, these are not merely lower interest rates, they are lower borrowing costs for households and businesses, creating room for entrepreneurs to invest, expand, and create jobs. We have also made significant strides on the external front. The current account recorded a surplus of 8.3% of GDP in 2025 and has remained strong through the first half of 2026. The cedi appreciated by 40.7% against the United States dollar in 2025, reversing years of sharp depreciation and restoring confidence in the Ghanaian economy. Mr. Speaker, taken together, these results demonstrate that the 2026 budget is firmly on track. The targets we set at the beginning of the year were not aspirational. They were grounded in sound policy, disciplined implementation, and realistic assumptions. The performance of the economy in the first half of 2026 confirms that we're on course to achieve them. Economic growth is exceeding target. Inflation is below the projected range. Fiscal performance is stronger than programmed, and the debt trajectory is improving faster than expectation. Mr. Speaker, the detailed macroeconomic performance will be presented in subsequent sections in this review. Right Honorable Speaker, the commitment we made to the people of Ghana are being honored, and the results are evident. I now wish to speak, Mr. Speaker, I now wish to speak directly to every Ghanaian listening to me this afternoon. To the market trader whose purchasing power has improved because inflation has fallen. To the entrepreneur who can now borrow at lower interest rate to expand their businesses, and to the worker whose income now stretches further because the cedi has stabilized. These improvements are not abstract statistics. They are the dividend of sound and competent economic management. We recognize that the sacrifices required to restore the economy were significant, and that many households continue to face challenges. But we also know that the foundations of Ghana's economy are now firmly in place. Fiscal discipline has been restored. Macroeconomic stability has returned. Confidence has been rebuilt. And the institutions needed to safeguard these gains have been strengthened. Under the leadership of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, Ghana is not going back. Ghana is moving forward. Mr. Speaker, the government that has delivered these results over the past 18 months has earned the trust to continue implementing the reforms that will secure Ghana's long-term prosperity. Right Honorable Speaker, next week, the Executive Board of the IMF is expected to approve the final review of Ghana's Extended Credit Facility Program, bringing to a successful conclusion the financial bailout IMF program. The Executive Board is also expected to approve a 36-month policy coordination instrument, a non-financing arrangement designed for countries that no longer have and are not expected to face balance of payment needs. Mr. Speaker, the PCI will anchor our next phase of reforms, strengthening macroeconomic resilience, support broad-based growth, and signal our unwavering commitment to sound and disciplined macroeconomic policy. The PCI will support reforms across 6 priority areas. First is to maintain growth-friendly fiscal consolidation. Second is to preserve debt sustainability. Third is to strengthen fiscal transparency and governance. The fourth is to enhance monetary and exchange rate policy framework. The fifth is to reinforce financial sector stability. And finally, to promote economic diversity and inclusive growth. Mr. Speaker, we believe our strong implementation record, together with the successful execution of the PCI, will strengthen Ghana's path towards investment grade status and enhance our ability to mobilize concessional and development financing for productive public investment. The PCI will include quantitative and 26 reform targets monitored through semi-annual reviews to ensure sustained implementation of reforms that are critical to achieve our ambitious policy objective. Mr. Speaker, the details of the PCI targets are provided in detail in the media fiscal review document before the House. Right, Honorable Speaker, I now turn to macroeconomic performance for the first half of the year. Mr. Speaker, Ghana has not merely met its first half-year target, it has exceeded them. Mr. Speaker, overall GDP growth was 6.4% in the first quarter of 2026, well ahead of the 4.8% full-year target. Non-oil GDP growth was 6.3% in the first quarter of 2026, well ahead of the 4.9% full-year target. Inflation has more than halved, falling from 13.7% in June 2025 to 5.3% by end of June 2026, against a target of 8 plus or minus 1% at the end of the year. The primary balance recorded a surplus of 0.9% of GDP on commitment basis, firmly on track to achieve our end-year target of 1.5% of GDP. Gross international reserves was 5 months of import cover as at end of June 2026, exceeding the target of at least 3 months of import cover. Mr. Speaker, January to June 2026, fiscal performance. Mr. Speaker, the provisional fiscal performance for the first half of 2026 is presented against the following approved 2026 fiscal target. Overall deficit target on commitment basis of 2.2% of GDP, primary surplus of 1.5% of the GDP, overall deficit on cash basis of 4% of GDP, and primary surplus on a cash basis of 0.4% of GDP. But Mr. Speaker, provisional fiscal outturn for the first half of 2026 was stronger than anticipated, indicating continued prudence in fiscal management and enhancing the government fiscal consolidation agenda. Non-oil tax revenue as at end of June 2026 was 6.4% of GDP, compared to a target of 6.5% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, domestic revenue reached 7.7% of GDP by June 2026, compared to the target of 7.8% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, total revenue and grant reached 7.8% of GDP by June 2026, compared to a target of 7.9% of GDP. Total expenditure on commitment basis at the end of June 2026 was 8.0% of GDP against the half-year target of 9.9% of GDP. Primary expenditure, which excludes interest payment, was 6.6% of GDP by June 2026, compared to half-year target of 8.1% of GDP. Interest costs at 1.3% of GDP as at the end of June 2026, against the half-year target of 1.8% of GDP, indicating that we have saved on interest about 0.5% of GDP, reflecting lower interest rates and improved debt management. Mr. Speaker, this performance reflects the resolve of this administration to make difficult decisions, implement them consistently, and maintain unwavering fiscal discipline. Mr. Speaker, I now move to public debt. At the end of June 2026, domestic debt accounted for 54.4% of Ghana's total public debt portfolio, while external debt accounted for 45.6%. On the 17th of February 2026, government honored the 6th domestic debt exchange program coupon payment of 10.1 billion on time and in full. Mr. Speaker, the 7th DDEP coupon payment of 10.8 billion cedis falls due on the 18th of August 2026. Let me use this opportunity to assure this House that it will be paid on time and in full. Mr. Speaker, since January 2025, the government has paid a total of $2.1 billion in principal and interest to Eurobond holders without placing undue pressure on Ghana's foreign exchange reserves. Right, Honorable Speaker, there was a time when the world doubted us. Today, every payment made on time answers that doubt, assuring bondholders in London, pension funds in New York, and investors at home that our word is our bond. Payment after payment, coupon after coupon, Ghana is proving one thing beyond dispute. We now keep our word. We now keep our word. That is how market confidence is rebuilt, not through speeches, but through repayment. Mr. Speaker, financial markets have delivered their verdict on Ghana's disciplined fiscal policies and prudent debt management. Right, Honorable Speaker, borrowing costs are down by half. In other words, government is borrowing less. That alone has saved us, this country, 4.2 billion cedis in just 6 months. Mr. Speaker, as Treasury bill rates decline, lending rates across the banking sector are also falling, making it cheaper for households, entrepreneurs, and businesses to borrow, invest, and expand, and at the same time, create jobs. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's Eurobond yields have fallen by about 300 basis points since the beginning of the year. This is not just a number. It is the market vote of confidence in our economy and our reforms. 3 years ago, Mr. Speaker, Ghana could not borrow on the international capital market at any price. Today, the market is inviting us back, but we are not in a hurry. We are not in a hurry. Right, Honorable Speaker, 3 years ago, Ghana could not borrow on the international capital market at any price. Today, the market is inviting us back, but I want to assure you, we are not in a hurry. 3 years ago, unsustainable debt defined our crisis. Today, our debt to GDP ratio has fallen to 45% and still declining, ahead of every target. Mr. Speaker, the work is not finished, and the PFM debt rule requires continuous vigilance. But the direction is right, the momentum is real, and the foundation is solid. Solid. Mr. Speaker, Ghana's external debt restructuring, initiated after the sovereign debt default of 2022, is now at its final stage. In just 3.5 years, Ghana has moved from default to credibility, from debt distress to debt sustainability, from market exclusion to a renewed investor confidence. This is an achievement every Ghanaian can be proud of. Mr. Speaker, following the 2022 public debt default, government could not borrow long-term in cedis and relied heavily and solely on treasury bills to finance the budget. Mr. Speaker, Ghana has now overcome what the economists describe as the original sin, which is the inability of a country to borrow over the long term in its own currency. Mr. Speaker, 3 years restriction on new cedi bond issuance introduced as a result of the debt default caused this original sin. Mr. Speaker, in April 2026, Ghana successfully raised $2.7 billion through its first 7-year cedi-denominated bond since the 2022 debt default. This marks an important step in rebuilding the domestic bond market and restoring long-term financing in our own currency. This further demonstrates that Ghana has regained the ability to mobilize long-term financing in its own currency for development. Right, Honorable Speaker, I'm proud to announce that Ghana has now overcome the original sin. Mr. Speaker, we have overcome the original sin. Whilst I now take you to the sinking fund. While Ghana's debt restructuring is nearing completion, prudent debt management requires us to look beyond today to tomorrow's obligation. Mr. Speaker, in 2027, DDEP bonds that will fall due is 58 billion Ghana cedis. Another 53 billion Ghana cedis will fall due in 2028. In 2 years alone, Ghana has to repay 111 billion cedis. 111. Mr. Speaker, this is the true Agenda 111. Right, Honorable Speaker? This is the true Agenda 111 Ghana must deal with. Why? Because the DDEP was not designed to solve Ghana's problems. Mr. Speaker, let me take this again. This is the true Agenda 111 Ghana must deal with. Why? Why? Because the domestic debt exchange program was not designed to solve Ghana's debt problems. It was designed to postpone it deliberately, knowingly, and cynically, unfortunately. Mr. Speaker, its architect mortgaged tomorrow to survive today. Mr. Speaker, they had a duty to fix the roof. Instead, they moved the leak to another room and declared the house repaired. Right, Honorable Speaker? Meeting obligations of this magnitude requires advanced planning, not last-minute scrambling. This is precisely why this government has strengthened the sinking fund to set aside money to repay future debt obligations that we inherited. Right, Honorable Speaker, under the 2026-2029 medium-term debt management strategy, we pledge that 7% of non-oil tax revenue, together with proceeds from domestic bond issuance, will go into the sinking fund as a war chest for the 2027 and 2028 maturities. Mr. Speaker, I'm proud to report that today, I can report to this House that as of 22nd of July, yesterday, the war chest holds 15.6 billion Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, we are on course to accumulate 30 billion cedis in the sinking fund by the end of the year 2026. Right, Honorable Speaker, for your information, this will be enough to repay the 30 billion domestic debt exchange program debt that will fall due in February 2027. Mr. Speaker, brick by brick, city by city, we are building the wall that will meet the wave so that when 2027 and 2028 comes, Ghana will not scramble. Ghana will simply pay back this debt. This is the signal the sinking fund sent to investors, credit rating agencies, and the people of Ghana, making it clear that this government plans ahead, honors its commitment, and manages the public finances better. Mr. Speaker, I now take you to the financial sector. Government acted decisively in July 2025 to restore confidence and stability in Ghana's banking sector by fully recapitalizing the National Investment Bank, the Agricultural Development Bank, and the Consolidated Bank. Mr. Speaker, last week, the Ghana Amalgamated Trust, GATT, completed the full recapitalization of UMB Bank. In addition, government facilitated the full capitalization of the Prudential Bank through a private sector-led approach. Right, Honorable Speaker, UMB and Prudential Bank today stands fully capitalized and primed for business. Mr. Speaker, we want to use this opportunity to encourage individuals, businesses, and institutions to take advantage of the revitalized UMB and Prudential Bank and bank with them. Mr. Speaker, yes. The 2023 domestic debt exchange program had a significant adverse impact on the Bank of Ghana's balance sheet, substantially weakening its capital and resulting in a negative net equity position. To restore the bank's financial strength, the government and the Bank of Ghana signed a memorandum of understanding on 6th January 2025 to recapitalize the bank over time. Consistent with the commitment in the MOU, and as a result of this government resolve to restore the bank's financial position, government issued a recapitalization bond to the Bank of Ghana of $5.5 billion as cedis to the Bank of Ghana in March 2026 to strengthen the bank's equity base. Mr. Speaker, going forward, the government of Ghana will make annual provision to capitalize the Bank of Ghana until the bank's equity is fully restored, in accordance with the Bank of Ghana Amendment Act 2025, Act 1158. Mr. Speaker, whilst government is helping to restore the Bank of Ghana's capital, the bank itself will undertake a comprehensive operational efficiency review to reduce costs, strengthen financial management, and rebuild its long-term financial sustainability. Mr. Speaker, to implement the Ghana Accelerated Reserve Accumulation Policy, government has significantly reduced the cost of the program from an average of 14.5% of gold purchase to 5%. Mr. Speaker, government is bearing the cost of the program and has accommodated 5 billion cedis in the 2026 budget within the same appropriations. Mr. Speaker, this investment is building an economic war chest to strengthen Ghana's international reserves, protect the cedi, reinforce economic stability, improve investor confidence, and shield the economy from international shocks. Mr. Speaker, I now take you to update of the implementation of the fiscal policies that this House approved for us. Right Honorable Speaker, 6 months ago, this House approved an ambitious program of fiscal reforms. Today, I'm pleased to report that implementation is well underway. Key milestones have been achieved, and the reforms are already delivering measurable results. On the revenue side, government is targeting an increase in non-oil tax revenue from 13.1% of GDP in 2025 to 14.1% of GDP in 2026, 1% increase, through improved compliance, broader tax basis, and enhanced revenue administration, and not through higher taxes. Mr. Speaker, we will achieve it. On the expenditure side, government remains firmly committed to keeping spending within approved limits while improving its efficiency and effectiveness. Mr. Speaker, I now take you to the individual tax reforms. Mr. Speaker, this government introduced the most ambitious reforms to Ghana's VAT system in over a decade to eliminate long-standing distortions, improve efficiency, and support business growth. We abolished COVID-19 health recovery levy. We decoupled Get Fund levy and the National Health Insurance levy from the VAT base, making both eligible for input tax deduction. We reduced the effective VAT rate from 21.9% to 20%. We abolished VAT on recognizance and prospecting for minerals. We raised VAT registration threshold from 200,000 to 750,000, relieving thousands of micro and small businesses of the obligation to register for and charge VAT. And we extended the zero rating of locally manufactured Teslas to 2028. Right Honorable Speaker, these reforms have simplified VAT systems, removed distortions, lowered the tax burden, and strengthened the foundation for improved compliance. Mr. Speaker, reforming the tax law was only the first step. Government is now leveraging technology to transform revenue administration and improve compliance. The cross-border technology solution for collecting VAT from non-resident platforms was successfully piloted in April 2026. The pilot confirmed that the system is functional, stable, secure, and compliant with regulatory requirements. Government is now moving decisively to secure the necessary regulatory approval for its nationwide rollout. Upon full deployment, Mr. Speaker, the system is projected to generate about 2.3 billion Ghana cedis in its first full year of operation, with revenue expected to grow by about 20% annually. Mr. Speaker, this is sustainable revenue without increasing tax rates. It simply ensures that cross-border digital platforms earning income from Ghanaian customers pay their fair share of taxes. Mr. Speaker, government is also rolling out fiscal electronic devices to strengthen VAT compliance and improve the monitoring of taxable transactions. The pilot phase is at an advanced stage. To encourage participation and improve compliance, government will also introduce the VAT reward scheme, under which customers who obtain valid VAT invoice will qualify for periodic reward. This will actively involve every Ghanaian in protecting the nation's tax base. Mr. Speaker, this is how a tax culture is built, not through fear, but through participation, transparency, and reward. Right Honorable Speaker, the concept of fiscal electronic device was first proposed by the previous NDC administration in 2026. But Mr. Speaker, the previous NPP administration deserves commendation for enacting the necessary enabling legislation. Mr. Speaker, the taxation, the use of Fiscal Electronic Device Act 2018, Act 999, laying an important legal foundation for this reform. Mr. Speaker, 8 years on, this government is taking the decisive step of implementing the reforms. We implemented. Mr. Speaker, for emphasis, the enabling legislation, the taxation, the use of Fiscal Electronic Device Act 2018, Act 966 was introduced in 2018 by the previous NPP administration. Mr. Speaker, I just want to use this opportunity to commend them. 8 years on, this government is taking the decisive step of implementing the reform. Mr. Speaker, with your leave, the chairman and the ranking members of the Finance and the Budget Committee of Parliament have been invited to provide strategic oversight for the implementation of this important national reform. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Ghana currently loses an estimated 60% of its potential VAT revenue through non-compliance and systemic inefficiencies. This is unacceptable. Losing 60% of the VAT that you are supposed to collect to develop your country. Mr. Speaker, this is unacceptable. It cannot continue, and under this government, this will not continue. I call on Parliament to support government to crack down on businesses and individuals who collect VAT from taxpayers and keep it instead of remitting it to the state. Mr. Speaker, fiscal electronic devices will help improve VAT collection, reduce revenue leakages, and ensure that businesses account properly for VAT they collect. Mr. Speaker, government has completed a comprehensive review of the Customs Act and the Excise Act. The bills are being laid before this House as part of the Media Fiscal Policy Review. I respectfully urge honorable members to give Customs and Excise Bill the expeditious consideration it deserves, so that these important reforms can be implemented without delay. Right Honorable Speaker, trade facilitation must never become a vehicle for tax evasion. Yet, Mr. Speaker, between 2020 and 2025, while 63% of taxable income entered directly into home consumption, the remaining 37% passed through customs suspense framework, including warehousing, transit, temporary admission, and free zones. These procedures exist to facilitate legitimate trade. However, Mr. Speaker, they have increasingly been exploited to evade duties and divert goods into domestic market without paying a single tax in return. Mr. Speaker, the cost extends far beyond lost revenue. Honest Ghanaian businesses and manufacturers are being forced to compete with imported goods that entered the domestic market through tax evasion. Mr. Speaker, this is not fair competition. It is an unfair burden on every law-abiding Ghanaian businesses. It must end. I must end now. Mr. Speaker, the customs bill before this House introduced bold reforms to close these loopholes and restore the integrity of Ghana's customs administration. To curb the abuse of warehousing, Mr. Speaker, government will introduce statutory maximum warehousing period as follows. Perishable goods, 3 months. General goods, 6 months. Raw materials, 12 months. Re-warehousing, Mr. Speaker, will be restricted to a maximum of 6 months, ending the practice of rolling warehousing. In addition, every bonded warehouse will be required to operate electronic inventory system linked to customs to enable real-time monitoring and audit control. Mr. Speaker, these are not merely administrative adjustments. They are structural reforms designed to accelerate revenue collection, reduce port congestion, improve compliance, and provide greater certainty for legitimate businesses. Government is also introducing the first port duty rule. Under this reform, Mr. Speaker, duties and taxes on goods declared for transit will become due at the first port of entry, removing one of the biggest avenues for false declaration and revenue leakages. Mr. Speaker, this simply means, Mr. Speaker, if you are to bring in something and you are to inform the customs official that the goods is destined to say Burkina Faso customs will be at the Tema port to collect their taxes before you move. This will end the practice of a punchy break. Mr. Speaker, Right Honorable Speaker, appropriate customs to customs arrangement with destination countries will ensure that legitimate transit trade continues seamlessly whilst protecting Ghana's revenue. Right Honorable Speaker, Free Zones regime was established to promote export-led industrialization, not to serve as a duty-free trading and storage hub. Unfortunately, over the time, that objective has been undermined by abuse of the regime and weak controls over the use of raw materials. Ghana's free zones will once again serve their original purpose, build domestic industry, expand export, and create quality jobs for Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, government will also strengthen import declaration and valuation by mandating the use of appropriate tax identification number for all importers. Mr. Speaker, downstream petroleum operations have for too long operated with fragmented controls and weak integration into customs systems. Mr. Speaker, bunkering and ship stores regime have consequently become vulnerable to diversion, under declaration and smuggling. This economy can no longer afford these leakages. Mr. Speaker, government would therefore enforce the statutory requirement for bank guarantee on the lifting of refined petroleum products and require product movement to be undertaken by only through approved pipelines and electronically tracked distribution system. Mr. Speaker, government will also remove the tax exemption on bunkering services in line with international practice to curb smuggling, strengthen compliance, and protect much-needed revenue. Right Honourable Speaker, I now take you to excise duties. The evidence for reform is equally compelling in the area of excise duties. Analysis of wine and spirit imported between 2023 and 2025 shows a taxable revenue of over 5 billion Ghana cedis. However, about 78%, worth 4 billion Ghana cedis, entered customs procedures such as warehousing and transit. In other words, almost 4 out of every 5 cedis of the potential excise tax based on wine and spirit escaped the tax net. Mr. Speaker, only 1 cedi out of every 5 cedi was subjected to excise duty. That is neither efficient nor sustainable, and this must change. The excise duty bill before this House introduced a comprehensive package of reforms to close these leakages. Mr. Speaker, we will crack down this leakage. Right Honourable Speaker, specifically, government will introduce a hybrid excise system combining value-based and quantity-based taxation for wines and spirit to eliminate persistent undervaluation and misclassification and ensure a minimum level of tax is paid regardless of the declared value. Mr. Speaker, we will review the existing sliding scale excise rates for beer and stout products to better align them with government revenue objectives while preserving the incentive for local production. Right Honourable Speaker, strengthening compliance through mandatory electronic registration of stockists, a nationwide track and trace system, penalties of up to 3 times the excise duty for tampering, and enforcing the law on requiring bank guarantees, and abolishing, Mr. Speaker, the payment of 20% excise duty on locally manufactured fruit juice. Mr. Speaker, we will abolish the 20% excise duty on locally manufactured fruit juices introduced in 2023. Right Honourable Speaker, this is to support agro-processing and job creation. Mr. Speaker, I now take you to the Publican AI trade solution. Technology is already transforming customs administration. The Publican AI trade solution was fully deployed in March 2026, and the results has been remarkable. Mr. Speaker, between the pilot phase, January and February, and the full rollout phase, March to 17 July 2026, the Publican AI trade solution increased assessed customs collection by over $300 million, representing 17.5% uplift over the values originally declared by importers. Mr. Speaker, Publican increased the aggregate declared costs, insurance and freight value of imports by approximately 6.3%, but increased the assessed collection by 17.5%. Since deployment, Mr. Speaker, the system has analyzed approximately 366,000 import declarations, nearly 1 in every 4, representing 24%, triggered more than 1 valuation risk indicator, requiring further review by customs officials. Before the deployment of the Publican AI, many of these declarations would have been cleared without scrutiny, leading to substantially revenue losses. Mr. Speaker, the positive impact on customs revenue collection has been massive. Mr. Speaker, in March 2026 alone, Publican increased the assessed collection by 73.44 million United States dollars, representing an uplift of 25.7%. Mr. Speaker, this was followed by additional assessed collection of 51.63 million in April 2026, 72.5 million in May, and 55.82 million in June, and 35.17 million for the first 17 days of July. Mr. Speaker, the impact is also reflecting in monthly customs revenue, which has increased from an average of approximately 4 billion Ghana cedis in 2025 to between 5.3 billion Ghana cedis and 5.5 billion Ghana cedis in 2026. So, Speaker, let me take this again. In 2024, an average monthly customs collection was 4 billion Ghana cedis. Today, the average monthly customs collection has moved to 5.3 billion cedis to 5.5 billion Ghana cedis. Despite the significant appreciation of the cedi and no major increase in volumes. Mr. Speaker, I have included some of the cases identified by the publican system in the media review document. Mr. Speaker, it is mind-blowing. Right Honorable Speaker, in each instance, the declared value was only a fraction of the value assessed by the AI publican system. Mr. Speaker, I now give you update on expenditure measures. Mr. Speaker, government is proposing further reforms to the public procurement, Mr. Speaker, in 3 different areas. First, the first reform is shortening procurement lead times. Mr. Speaker, the second reform is to limit the use of single source procurement, and the third is to tighten restricted tendering. Right Honorable Speaker, government will shorten procurement timelines. The lead time for national competitive tendering for goods will be reduced from 23 weeks to 8 weeks. Mr. Speaker, international competitive tendering for works will be reduced from 27 weeks to 14 weeks. Mr. Speaker, competitive tendering must remain the norm. Restricted tendering and single source procurement must be the exception. Government will therefore tighten the rules governing these exceptional procurement methods, strengthening oversight and improve accountability to ensure greater transparency and better value for money. Single source procurement will be permitted only in genuine exceptional circumstances, such as emergencies, national security, or where only one supplier is capable of delivering the required goods, works, and services. Right Honorable Speaker, urgency arising from poor planning will no longer be treated as an emergency. Government will also strengthen accountability by introducing sanctions for approvals granted in breach of the Public Procurement Act. Mr. Speaker, these reforms will speed up project delivery, strengthen competition, improve value for money, and reduce opportunities for procurement abuses. Right Honorable Speaker, I now take you to flood response and mitigation measures. Mr. Speaker, following the widespread flooding that affected Greater Accra and other parts of the country in June 2026, government sought parliamentary approval to draw 350 million from the contingency fund to finance emergency response intervention. On the 30th of June 2026, the Finance Committee of Parliament, acting under Article 1771 of the Constitution, approved the request. However, Mr. Speaker, government was unable to access the funds because the contingency fund was subject to a garnishee order issued by the Accra High Court. Mr. Speaker, given the urgency of protecting lives, providing humanitarian relief to affected communities, and restoring critical infrastructure, government reallocated 350 million from the contingency vote under the control of the Minister of Finance in the 2026 budget to the Disaster Management Committee under the Ministry of Interior to finance the emergency responses. Mr. Speaker, to strengthen flood mitigation efforts across the country, government also reallocated 226 million within the budget of the Ministry of Works and Housing and Water Resources to implement additional flood control and mitigation measures. Mr. Speaker, government is committed to improving urban mobility and providing safe, reliable, and affordable public transport for Ghanaians. To this end, government is reallocating 400 million Ghana cedis for the acquisition of high occupancy buses to strengthen the fleet of state-owned transport companies, including Metro Mass Transit and the State Transport Company. Mr. Speaker, this intervention will expand public transport capacity, particularly along high-demand urban and intercity routes, reducing long passenger queues during peak hours, and provide commuters with more reliable and efficient alternative to private vehicles. Mr. Speaker, I now take you to the update on key policy initiatives that this House approved. Right, Honorable Speaker, I now report on the implementation on some of the government key policy initiatives during the first half of 2026. First, Mr. Speaker, Ghana's crude oil production declined sharply from 71.4 billion barrels in 2019 to about 36 million barrels in 2025. To reverse this decline, government has introduced investor-friendly reforms that have already secured more than $3.5 billion in new investment commitment from the Jubilee and OCTP partners. Right, Honorable Speaker, these reforms are already delivering results. Oil production has exceeded expectation this year, with Jubilee increasing from a projected 68,000 barrels to about 95,000 barrels per day. Mr. Speaker, while Sankofa is now producing about 28,000 barrels per day. Mr. Speaker, gas billion standard also updating the laws governing the upstream petroleum sector to make Ghana more attractive for investment, with a proposed amendment to be submitted to this Parliament before the year end. Right, Honorable Speaker, government remains firmly committed to its gas-to-power strategy, which is replacing expensive light crude oil with cleaner and cheaper natural gas. This transition is expected to reduce electricity generation costs by at least 75%. I am pleased to report that by the end of June 2026, government has increased gas supply for power generation by an additional 35 million standard cubic feet per day, bringing total supply to about 490 million standard cubic feet of gas per day. The increase comprises 10 million standard cubic feet per day from the OCTP partners led by ANI, and 25 million standard cubic feet per day from the NGAS. Mr. Speaker, this strategic shift is already delivering significant savings. By replacing light crude oil with natural gas, government saved about 3 billion Ghana cedis, equivalent to $268.8 million in fuel costs during the first half of 2026. Mr. Speaker, government in partnership with the private sector is developing 100 million standard cubic feet per day modular gas processing facility. Land acquisition has been completed, while the environmental assessment, engineering design, financial due diligence, and project structuring are underway. Mr. Speaker, this will be submitted to Parliament for consideration. Financial close is expected by end of 2026. Right, Honorable Speaker, the project is expected to create nearly 1,000 jobs and generate about $2 billion in benefit to the state over the next 5 years through fuel savings, foreign exchange savings, taxes, levies, and dividend. Mr. Speaker, I now report on our 1,200 megawatt state-owned power plant. Right, Honorable Speaker, government is also developing a 1,200 megawatt state-owned combined cycle gas-fired power plant at Kafudidi Abrobano in the Commander Edna Egwafo Ebrim municipality. Mr. Speaker, feasibility studies have confirmed the project viability, with environmental engineering and permitting processes progressing steadily. The first 600 megawatt phase is expected to be commissioned in 2028. Right, Honorable Speaker, to reduce costs, government secured the gas turbines directly from GE Vernova, achieving savings of between 35% and 45% compared with third-party procurement. Right Honorable Speaker, the project will lower electricity generation costs, help reduce electricity tariff by 10 to 20%, and create more than 2,000 direct and indirect jobs during the first phase. Mr. Speaker, I now take you to the big push. Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker. Government Big Push Infrastructure Program is driving the largest coordinated investment in strategic transport infrastructure in recent years, with projects underway in all 16 regions of the country. Mr. Speaker, work has commenced on 87 projects, comprising 74 trunk roads and bridges, 10 urban roads and 3 feeder roads. Mr. Speaker, by end of June 2026, 13 projects had reached at least 50% completion, including 6 projects that had exceeded 75%, while a further 15 projects had progressed beyond 25% completion. Significant progress has been made on key corridors, including the Kaswa-Winneba, Takrade-Aguna Junction, Ofanko in Sawom, Tepagoso, Adentan-Dodowa, Tema Aflao, Penny Aflao, Wenchi Sola Atimpoku Ho Aflao, Tumu Han Laura, Tumu Navrongo, and Winneba Cape Coast Takrade roads. Right Honorable Speaker, the construction of the Swami Interchange Phase 2, the Sunyani, Tamale, and Kumasi Outer Ring Road are progressing. Mr. Speaker, feeder road projects in the Eastern Volta region are also improving access to farming communities and market access. During the second half of the year, government will fast-track project nearing completion. Mr. Speaker, improve contractor performance and remove bottlenecks to ensure they are completed on time. Right Honorable Speaker, I take you to the Accra-Kumasi Expressway. Mr. Speaker, the Accra-Kumasi Expressway remains the flagship under the Big Push program. It involves the construction of 176-kilometer, 6-lane bi-directional expressway linking Ghana's 2 largest commercial cities. When completed, Mr. Speaker, the expressway will reduce travel time between Accra and Kumasi to about 2 hours, improve road safety, ease congestion, lower transport costs, and feature modern interchanges, bridges, intelligent transport system, electronic tolling, emergency response facilities, and rest spots. Mr. Speaker, government has made substantial progress in the project preparation. As of 22nd July 2026, yesterday, the Ghana Armed Forces have cleared 122 kilometers, representing about 70% of the 120-meter wide right-of-way in just 12 weeks. Mr. Speaker, the entire corridor is expected to be cleared by the first week of September 2026. Right Honorable Speaker, compensation assessment, environmental studies, engineering design, feasibility works are progressing simultaneously. The feasibility study and detailed engineering design are expected to be completed by end of August 2026, next month. Mr. Speaker, with procurement for the main construction contract to commence in September 2026. Mr. Speaker, as of 2nd of July 2026, $1.7 billion United States dollars have been deposited into a dedicated Accra-Kumasi Expressway account at the Bank of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, for emphasis, as at yesterday, 22nd of July 2026, the government of Ghana has deposited $1.7 billion United States dollars into an account, a dedicated account at the Bank of Ghana solely for this project. The funds have been ring-fenced and will be used only after the main construction contract is awarded. I can share it. Mr. Speaker, government is therefore confident that all the requirements for this transformational project, including the resources, the money, will be in place when His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama cut the sword for the construction of the project to begin. Mr. Speaker, I now take you to Achia Mamfuom, and also Achia Mamfuom Bridge. Right Honorable Speaker, for centuries, the people of Afram Plains have relied on ferries to cross the Afram River. While these ferries have served the area for many years, frequent delays and seasonal disruptions have impeded easy access and movement of people, goods, and the provision of essential services. The Adosu Achia Mamfuom Bridge, a 3.6-kilometer permanent bridge, will be the longest in Ghana and will replace the ferries, providing a safe, reliable, and all-weather crossing. As part of Ghana's big push infrastructure, Mr. Speaker, it will connect the Kwewu-Afram Plains to the national road network and unlock the significant potential of one of Ghana's most important food baskets. The bridge will make it easier for farmers to transport maize, cassava, yam, rice, and other produce to market, reducing travel time. It will also improve access to healthcare, education, and other essential services while creating jobs, attracting investment, and supporting food security. Expected to be completed by end of 2028, the Adosu Achia Mamfuom Bridge is a gateway to opportunities, bringing communities closer to markets, services, and better future. The Speaker, the Dambai Bridge. Works is also progressing on the Dambai Bridge, a critical project that will provide a permanent crossing between Dambai and Dodi-Kope and strengthen transport along the Eastern Corridor. The Speaker, the project comprises 1.49-kilometer bridge and approximately 6.8 kilometer of approach roads. The Speaker, at the end of June 2026, fiscal progress had reached 6%, slightly ahead of schedule, with foundation work and construction of the temporary bridge already underway. Right Honorable Speaker, I now take you to the 1,000-kilometer agriculture enclave road, of which Parliament approved 2 days ago. Mr. Speaker, government has begun the implementation of the agriculture enclave road program. Government is investing $528 million United States dollars, equivalent in cedis, to rehabilitate 1,050 kilometers of feeder roads across 4 major agriculture producing corridors. Mr. Speaker, upon completion, the project is expected to rehabilitate 1,050 kilometers of feeder roads, ensure 100% of rehabilitated roads are maintained under performance-based contract, expand the National Road Asset Management Database to achieve 100% coverage, create approximately 25,000 direct and indirect jobs, including at least 7,500 jobs for women, and reduce travel time by over 40% on paved roads and 30% on unpaved roads. Mr. Speaker, the first phase will involve the rehabilitation of 1,050 kilometers of feeder roads to be undertaken across 4 agriculture clusters covering 13 regions of the country. Right Honorable Speaker, Cluster 1 will cover 300 kilometers of roads in Upper West, Northern Region, and Savannah regions, and that will be 300 kilometers. Clusters 2, Mr. Speaker, will rehabilitate 300 kilometers of roads in the Oti, Volta, and the Eastern regions. Mr. Speaker, Cluster 3 will also rehabilitate 250 kilometers of roads in Ashanti, Bono East, and Eastern region. And finally, Mr. Speaker, Cluster 4 will cover 200 kilometers of roads in Western North, Western, Central, and Ahafo region. Mr. Speaker, these investments will improve connectivity between farms and market, reduce post-harvest losses, lower transport costs, and support agricultural transformation in some of Ghana's most productive farming areas. Mr. Speaker, I take you to the oil palm. Right Honorable Speaker, government remains committed to transforming Ghana's oil palm industry into a major driver of industrialization, export growth, import substitution, and rural employment. A key pillar of the integrated oil palm development policy is the establishment of a sustainability-compliant oil palm land banks to de-risk private sector investment and accelerate the development of large-scale plantation integrated with smallholder and outgrower schemes. Mr. Speaker, implementation of this initiative is progressing steadily. The Ministry of Land and Natural Resources, working in collaboration with the private sector and other relevant institutions, have reviewed over 270,000 hectares of land in the Western region. Right Honorable Speaker, drone survey have been completed on over 117,000 hectares, whilst 46,000 hectares have been selected for detailed land use change analysis. To date, assessment has been completed on 16,000 hectares, of which approximately 10,780 hectares have been identified as suitable for sustainable oil palm development. Right Honorable Speaker, these areas are now undergoing the required environmental, social, and sustainable assessment, including high conservation value, high carbon stock, and free, prior, and informed consent (FPIC) processes in line with the international standard. Mr. Speaker, similar mapping, land documentation activities have commenced in the Central region, with preparatory work underway in Eastern and Volta region. Based on the current assessment, Mr. Speaker, the Western region alone is expected to provide approximately 30,000 hectares of land for the first phase of the development. Mr. Speaker, as work expands nationwide, the land bank has the potential to exceed 100,000 hectares across Ghana's oil palm growing belt. Mr. Speaker, this initiative will unlock significant private sector investment, create over 250 direct and indirect jobs across the value chain, and strengthen smallholder participation, increase domestic crude oil palm production, reduce import dependency, and position Ghana as a leading hub for oil palm processing and exports. Mr. Speaker, government will continue to work with stakeholders to ensure that this program is implemented responsibly, sustainably, and in a manner that delivers lasting benefit to our communities and the national economy. Now listen, Mr. Speaker, government is also finalizing the $500 million United States dollars integrated oil palm development financing agreement with the World Bank for on-lending to the private sector for the development of large-scale commercial oil palm plantation. We expect to conclude and present it to this House by the end of this year. Right Honorable Speaker, we expect to bring it for approval by the end of this year. Right Honorable Speaker, as part of Government Feed Ghana program, we have commenced the establishment of the 50 farmer service centers across the country to improve farmers' access to mechanization and extension services. To support this initiative, government has deposited 551 million Ghana cedis into an escrow account at the Bank of Ghana to establish the letters of credit for the procurement of 1,840 units of agricultural machineries and equipment. These include tractors, trailers, power tillers, plows, cultivators, seed drills, sprayers, fertilizer spreaders, and combine harvesters, which will significantly improve farm productivity, reduce production costs, and enhance food security. Mr. Speaker, cocoa sector reforms. Right Honorable Speaker, the cocoa sector remains a cornerstone of Ghana's economy. Mr. Speaker, Ghana is serving as a major source of export earnings and livelihood for millions of Ghanaians, particularly in rural Ghana. Mr. Speaker, since the enactment of the Ghana Cocoa Board Act 1984, PNDC Law 81, the Ghana cocoa industry has undergone significant transformation. To modernize the governance and financing of the sector, government will submit a new Cocoa Board bill to Parliament to repeal and replace the Ghana Cocoa Board Act 1984, PNDC Law 81. Mr. Speaker, the proposed legislation will introduce a new producer pricing mechanism that aligns producer price with movement in international cocoa price, exchange rate development, and other relevant market conditions. We will also guarantee the cocoa farmer not less than 70% of gross free on board price. Mr. Speaker, we will also seek to establish a new financing framework for cocoa purchases and related operations and restore the long-term financial sustainability and operational efficiency of Ghana Cocoa Board. The bill will also ensure that not less than 50% of cocoa beans produced in Ghana is processed here in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, we will also restrain Ghana Cocoa Board from taking part in quasi-fiscal activities. Right Honorable Speaker, Mr. Speaker, these reforms will place Ghana's cocoa sector on a stronger financial footing, improve returns to cocoa farmer, ensure value addition, and position the industry for sustainable long-term growth. Mr. Speaker, I now take you to transforming secondary education and eliminating the double track. Mr. Speaker, the government of Ghana the education remains one of the most powerful investments we can make in the future of our country. Government is therefore taking bold steps to transform secondary education through a $300 million United States dollar World Bank financing. Mr. Speaker, under this $300 million United States dollar World Bank financing initiative, government will undertake 210 major infrastructure interventions across the country. These include, Mr. Speaker, we are building 10 new secondary schools. Right Honorable Speaker, we will rehabilitate 150 secondary schools. Mr. Speaker, we are upgrading 30 Category C secondary schools to become a Category B school. Mr. Speaker, aside, we are also upgrading 20 Category B schools to be part of Category A. Mr. Speaker, we are also going to procure furniture to support these schools that we are upgrading and ensure that every school child going to any of our secondary schools benefits from textbooks free of charge. Mr. Speaker, 10 new secondary schools will be strategically distributed to improve access in the underserved areas. One new school each will be constructed in Western North, Greater Accra, Volta, Oti, Northern, Upper East, Upper West, Savannah, and Central Region. Mr. Speaker, upon completion, the project is expected to benefit about 2.3 million students, over 100,000 teachers, and about 2,000 school leaders across the country. The project will support government effort to eliminate the double track within 2 calendar years. Mr. Speaker, improved learning outcomes, particularly in mathematics and science, expand female participation in STEM and TVET education, and equip our young people with the digital, technical, and green skills required for the jobs of the future. Mr. Speaker, I now take you to free primary health care. Right Honorable Speaker, government remains committed to ensuring that every Ghanaian has access to quality primary health care. regardless of income or location, following the launch of the free primary healthcare policy in April 2026. The first phase of implementation is targeting 150 underserved districts across the country. Mr. Speaker, government has distributed more than 24,000 pieces of medical equipment to strengthen diagnostics, emergency, maternal, and neonatal care. Mr. Speaker, we have also deployed motorbikes, tricycles, and mobile outreach equipment to improve healthcare delivery in hard-to-reach communities. In addition, community screening for hypertension, diabetes, cancer, and other non-communicable diseases has been expanded, while the establishment of health kiosks, container-based health posts, and upgrading of existing primary healthcare facilities are underway. Women's Development Bank, Mr. Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker. Government has made progress towards the establishment of the Women's Development Bank. On the 26th of January 2026, the bank was formally incorporated as WDB Ghana Limited. Mr. Speaker, following its incorporation, government applied to the Bank of Ghana for the requisite banking license to enable the bank commence operations. Mr. Speaker, in fulfillment of the capital requirement for licensing, the Ministry of Finance has deposited an amount of 400 million Ghana cedis into an account with the Bank of Ghana as the initial capital for the Women's Development Bank. Mr. Speaker, the Women's Development Bank is expected to commence full operations before the end of this year. Mr. Speaker, and I'll bring you to the conclusion. Right Honorable Speaker, in recent times, a narrative has emerged suggesting that this government is not spending enough. Mr. Speaker, nothing can be further from the truth. Far from standing still, we have been steadily and responsibly deploying resources guided by the simple but firm principle that we can only spend only what we have, and we spend it wisely and with the future of our nation in view. Mr. Speaker, in the spirit of transparency and accountability, allow me to lay before this House a clear account of some of the expenditure we have made so far to support government programs across the sectors approved in the 2026 budget. Mr. Speaker, first, to compensate public sector workers, an amount of 48.8 billion Ghana cedis for compensation of employees has been paid, including 4 billion Ghana cedis as contribution to SNIT and 2 billion Ghana cedis as Tier 2 pension scheme. Mr. Speaker, to honor our debt obligation, an amount of 21.5 billion for interest has been paid. To honor our international debt obligation, an amount of $700 million for Eurobond debt service and interest have also been paid. To restore confidence on our financial systems, an amount of 10 billion Ghana cedis to domestic bondholders has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to deepen fiscal decentralization, an amount of 4.4 billion cedis to the District Assembly's Common Fund, representing the first 2 quarters of the year, has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to keep the National Health Insurance Scheme strong and vibrant, an amount of 4.5 billion Ghana cedis has been paid. To strengthen specialized health care, an amount of 1.1 billion Ghana cedis to Mahama Cares has been paid. Right Honorable Speaker, to support quality and access education and accessible education, an amount of 4.2 billion Ghana cedis for the first 6 months of the year to the Ghana Education Trust Fund, GET Fund, has been paid. Right Honorable Speaker, to strengthen free secondary education program and ease the burden on families, and an amount of 1.8 billion cedis to the free secondary education program has been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker. To improve road maintenance, an amount of 1.7 billion Ghana cedis to the Road Maintenance Trust Fund has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to support job creation for young people, an amount of 459 million Ghana cedis to the Youth Employment Agency has been paid. Mr. Speaker, again to support petroleum sector, an amount of 961 million Ghana cedis to the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to promote development in mining communities and mining institutions, an amount of 458 million to the Mineral Development Fund has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to keep the light on across the country, an amount of 7.1 billion Ghana cedis to the energy sector for stable power supply has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to clear legacy arrests, to clear your arrests, Mr. Speaker, an amount of 5.3 billion Ghana cedis has been paid to, Mr. Speaker, to give remaining to free compulsory basic education, an amount of 76 million Ghana cedis as capitation grant has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to support the most vulnerable in our society, an amount of 485 million Ghana cedis to LEAP beneficiaries has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to provide nutritious meal and keep our children in school, an amount of 877 million to the Ghana School Feeding Program has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to ease the burden on families, an amount of 46 million for BEC registration has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to remove financial barriers to tertiary education, an amount of 537 million for the no-fee stress policy has been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker. To support teachers, the teacher trainees, an amount of 104 million as teacher training allowance has been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker. To support nursing training, an amount of 144 million as nursing training allowance has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to strengthen grassroots governance, an amount of 93 million as assembly members allowance has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to promote skills development and entrepreneur, an amount of 45 million for the National Apprenticeship Program has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to support Ghana's participation in the 2026 FIFA World Cup, an amount of 58 million has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to support environmental sustainability, an amount of 477.4 million to ARICOPS has been paid. Mr. Speaker, in fulfillment of our campaign promise, an amount of 1.1 billion Ghana cedis to the Ministry of Food and Agriculture for flagship programs, including food buffer stock, fertilizers, certified seed distribution, Feed Ghana, irrigation infrastructure has been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker. To modernize agriculture through the establishment of the Farmer Service Center, an amount of 551 million into an escrow account for the establishment of a letter of credit has been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker. To support infrastructure development, an amount of 11.5 billion Ghana cedis as capital expenditure has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to improve road infrastructure, an amount of 6.5 billion Ghana cedis for the Big Push infrastructure program has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to support education delivery, an amount of 915 million for goods and services under the Ministry of Education including sanitary pads, has been paid. Mr. Speaker, to ensure smooth and effective functioning of government, an amount of 7.9 billion Ghana cedis for goods and services have been paid. Right, Honorable Speaker, to protect our rivers, forest reserves, and agricultural lands against the Galamsey menace, an amount of 16 million to the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, NIMOS, has been paid. Mr. Speaker, permit me to end where I began, not with numbers, but with reflection. Mr. Speaker, permit me to end where I began, not with a number, but with a reflection. Right, Honorable Speaker, before this administration took office, this country stood at the edge of an economic cliff. The city was in free fall. Inflation has raised 50%. Our sovereign debt rated junk. Our access to the world capital market had been cut off. And for the 17th time in our history, Ghana turned to the IMF for a bailout. Mr. Speaker, that was the Ghana we inherited. Today, inflation stands at 5.3%. Our currency, the Ghana cedi, has stabilized. Economic growth is above 6% and broad-based. Our debt to GDP is now 45%, years ahead of schedule. The primary balance is in surplus, not in deficit. Interest rates have declined significantly, and Ghana has successfully completed the final review of the IMF bailout program. Mr. Speaker, we promised to move this economy from the emergency room to the wellness center. Mr. Speaker, we have kept that promise. Mr. Speaker, I give this House my firm assurance this economy will never return to the emergency room under our watch. Right, Honorable Speaker, I want to give this House my firm assurance that this economy will never return to the emergency room under our watch. Mr. Speaker, let me be clear. These achievements do not belong to government. They belong to the people of Ghana. Behind every number in this statement is the sacrifice of an ordinary Ghanaian. The pensioner who accepted painful and crude haircuts on a lifetime savings. The bank and businesses that absorbed extraordinary losses and costs. Millions of citizens who endured difficult adjustments so that their country could recover. And the market trader, the nurse, the teacher, the entrepreneur, and the young graduate who lived through some of the hardest months in our recent history and never gave up on his country. Mr. Speaker, stabilization was not won in this chamber alone. It was won in homes, on farms, in workshops, in marketplaces, and through the patience and resilience of the Ghanaian people. This administration will never take that sacrifice for granted. Mr. Speaker, we know that inflation alone does not refill an empty pot. We know that a stronger cedi does not instantly repair a household budget stretched by years of economic mismanagement and crisis. And we also know that there is still a distance between recovery and a relief at the kitchen table. But we also know this, Mr. Speaker, your sacrifice was not in vain. It secures something priceless, a firm foundation for our dear country. And on that foundation, we will build the Ghana we want. Mr. Speaker, to every Ghanaian who endured, to the market woman in Kejitia, the farmer in Busunu, the teacher in Wa, the entrepreneur in still searching for the opportunity they deserve, I say, on behalf of His Excellency President Mahama, thank you. Your sacrifice is the reason Ghana is standing today. Your future is the reason we refuse to stop here. Mr. Speaker, let me now speak the hard truth that discipline demands. Right Honorable Speaker, stability is not a trophy to be worn once and displayed forever. It is a garden. It must be tended every single day or we lose it. Ghana has traveled this road before. We have stabilized, celebrated, relaxed, and unfortunately relapsed. 17 times we turned to the IMF for a bailout. We are determined that the 17th time shall be the last. But that determination cannot rest on the shoulders of the government alone. This is my call to every Ghanaian. The gains we have secured are national gains. They demand a national commitment to protect them. Mr. Speaker, it means paying your taxes so that our schools, hospitals, roads are financed increasingly from our own resources, rather than by unsustainable borrowings. It means demanding value for money for every cedi of public expenditure and refusing to look away when public resources are wasted. Mr. Speaker, it means holding this government and every government that follows to the fiscal rules we have written into law. Mr. Speaker, fiscal discipline can no longer be a policy of a minister. It must become the culture of our country. Mr. Speaker, stabilization can never be the destination. Stabilization was never the destination. It was only the price of entry. Ghana has paid that price. What comes next is the work that changes life at scale, the work of transformation. Through the new economy that His Excellency President Mahama will unveil, we will build an economy that does not merely withstand shocks, but create jobs, generate wealth, and grow on the strength of what Ghana produces. Mr. Speaker, the true measure of a finance minister is not how much he spends, but how faithful he protects the resources entrusted to him. Right, Honorable Speaker, the true measure of a finance minister is not how much he spends, but how faithful he protects the resources entrusted to him. The money we manage does not belong to those entrusted to manage it. It belongs to the people of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, it belongs to you and belongs to all of us. Every cedi collected in taxes, every cedi borrowed, and every cedi spent carries with it a sacred obligation to use it wisely, honestly, and always in the national interest. My assurance to this House and to every Ghanaian is simple. Your money is safe. Your money is safe. Under the leadership of President Mahama, your economy is in safe hands. And as long as I have the honor to serve as Minister for Finance, it will remain so. Mr. Speaker, I pledge to level with you always. I will tell you the truth about the state of the public finances, whether the news is welcoming or difficult. We will never conceal our challenges or exaggerate our successes. Trust is about the truth, and truth must remain the foundation of sound economic management. Our responsibility now is not merely to celebrate these gains, but to preserve them for future generations. economic stability is not an event. It is a duty renewed every day through prudent stewardship, fiscal discipline, and unwavering accountability. Mr. Speaker, Ghana is not going back. Under the leadership of His Excellency President Mahama and with the determination of the Ghanaian people, Ghana is moving forward steadily, honestly, and together. Mr. Speaker, with these remarks, I respectfully submit the 2026 mid-year fiscal policy review of the budget statement and economic policy of government to this House for consideration. God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong. Mr. Speaker, I thank you.
And you just heard the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiel Ato, forcing and ending the budget review for the year 2026. Said quite a number of things there. Those of us in studio were following him. The 99-page document he just presented to Parliament. And just to touch on some of the issues he spoke about, he says economic stability is not an event, it's a duty, renewed every day through prudent stewardship, fiscal discipline, and unwavering accountability. He assured that under the leadership of President Mahama, the economy is in safe hands, and as long as he has the honor to serve as Minister for Finance, it will remain so. He also gave the House the firm assurance that this economy will never return to the emergency room under his watch. He spoke about revenue generation for the year 2025 and said that the government received more revenue for that year, even after abolishing the nuisance taxes. And said real GDP also grew by 6.0% in 2025, the fastest since 2019. So the Finance Minister has mentioned a lot of things, said a lot of plans in the pipeline. We will be crossing over to Parliament shortly because we would want to hear from the minority side what their reaction is to the review just read by the Minister, and then also what the majority would say in response to that. But let me come in studio. Let me pick the quick thoughts of our guest. He just joined us, George Annan. He is also a regular in the studios of Bullet Business. He's going to help us do a little breakdown and understanding of some of the things and issues the Finance Minister raised. And then Aben is also here with me. So let me get your quick thoughts. Let me start with you, George. We've had a lot of plans. What's your assessment of the review that the Minister has given us this afternoon?
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm glad to be back again for such a discussion. So I think I'm looking at more of the indicators where they are all pointing to, and currently they are all pointing in the right direction. Looking at the GDP growth, looking at inflation, looking at the exchange rate, looking at the monetary policy, and looking at the plans even ahead till the end of the year. It's all looking in the right direction, and I can't wait for us to break all of it down.
Even your assessment before we heard the minister, you were talking about how you want to see the plans to generate more revenue.
So I think that was the last thing we were on.
Yeah,
before. On the slides. And he hinted that with the introduction or the modernization of the revenue collection, we have seen more in terms of expectation. I don't know if I missed it. Did he explain why we didn't meet the target? He just mentioned that we've gotten a certain significant figure, 300 million, but he has not said or stated. He didn't mention.
Yeah.
He actually touched on it. That over 60% of some of the revenues are not collected, and that is why the targets are not met through non-compliance.
Right.
So there's significant non-compliance, and also lack of innovative ways of collecting the taxes also.
So he just went back to the expectation at the beginning. But what is significant is the fact that the introduction of Republican AI helped generate revenue at the port. So I think it's something worth commending. Maybe it says something about being at par with modern technology. We put in that more into our administration, not just in the finance ministry, but for other departments too. I would encourage that I don't know if it should be a policy, but a direction that will trickle down into our district assemblies for the collection of tolls and all of those levies that are necessary for running our cities and communities. So for me, I'm okay with what has been heard so far. But what remains now for us is what remains now for us is to do a detailed study of the 99-page documents and then ask more questions.
Yeah.
So we hope to get some answers in the coming days, and I'm sure you'll do that more on your show in the coming days too.
Yeah, we certainly will do that. We'll break down the documents the minister presented today. But let's go back to Parliament, where there are now reactions on the floor of Parliament to the review just made by the minister.
Of the budget statement and economic policy of the government of the Republic of Ghana for the 2026 fiscal year, ably presented by the minister responsible for finance. Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members will listen to each other in silence.
Mr. Speaker, the Finance Minister has just told this House that the true character of a Finance Minister is not determined by how much he spends. Such a statement must cause palpitation among ministers of state. Mr. Speaker, basically, what he is telling all ministers that he is not going to spend, he is not going to release funds to you. Mr. Speaker, already you are suffering and you've been redundant in your various ministries. His deputy minister told the nation that 1.6 billion was released to the agri minister. Today, he says only 1.1 billion. You see, the true measure of a finance minister is not how much he spends. Mr. Speaker, throughout his review, there was no policy announcement for the cocoa sector. The 4 million farmers, the 4 million cocoa farmers, are suffering. This finance minister, since he took over as a supervising minister responsible for cocoa, we have seen suffering and wailing, and he comes here to lament. Mr. Speaker, he talks about determining the true cost of economic policy, the true cost. He's talking about having met some debt. What he has forgotten, that he refused good counsel from the minority. When Gold Board and Bank of Ghana charges on the gold for reserve policy was at 15%, we cautioned. He didn't listen. Later, IMF forced them to reduce it to 9%. 3 days ago, the governor announced that he was no more going to participate in this gold for reserve. It's too late in the day. You've already incurred losses of 9.6 billion. That is what the IMF told you. And you come here, you're saying prudent management of the economy. Really? Mr. Speaker, this review is full of English with empty payment. The payment he said is done. He said they've done some payment. Why didn't he give us details? You paid your party members. You paid your party members. The monies have gone to your party members. And Mr. Speaker, the Nkukon Kitinkiti project has now become protein.
Our members, I insist we listen to each other in silence.
The Nkukon Kitinkiti has become protein for your party executives. They are all cooking Akukon Kwai. It is now Akukon Kwai. Mr. Speaker, I want the finance minister to walk the talk. If you come here and you say 24-hour market, 24-hour market at 42 million cities, and you've abandoned the Agenda 111. The hospitals, that should be your priority. You are not constructing the hospitals. Then you are spending a whooping sum of 42 million, and you say you've released 80% to the assemblies. Mr. Speaker, meanwhile, you are using the assemblies, their own allocation, to pay for the 24-hour economy. When there are no hospitals, how do you say you are constructing markets? Mr. Speaker, this review is uninspiring. There is no inspiration. What we are experiencing in this country is persecution, persecution, persecution. For the first time, we are seeing political imprisonment. One to me is a political prisoner. Mr. Speaker, Camilla Al-Hassan, a young mother of 3, is also a political prisoner, telling you how intolerant you are. And you are here telling us you are running an economy. You want this to be a one-sided parliament. When people criticize you, you threaten them. A lot of my MPs here have been threatened. You are threatening members of parliament with prosecution. Let me serve a warning to the Attorney General that the ravening clouds shall no longer be victorious. They shall not long possess the sky. Be careful. 2028, you'll be in opposition. 2028. If you are not careful, Mr. Speaker, if you don't stop now, you will go and meet Wontumi there, and Wontumi will be out, and you will go in. So I'm advising you, let us all be measured. We welcome the reforms by the finance minister, and for the first time, he did something patriotic by acknowledging the digitalization reforms we introduced in government payments. Today he has acknowledged it. Mr. Speaker, we commend you for acknowledging MPP. We commend you, but you can do better. Tell your government to free all political prisoners. Dr. Atu Forson, tell your government to free all political prisoners. Wontumi deserve justice. Camilla Al-Hassan deserve justice. The MPs behind me that you have lined them up for persecution, listen, you can decide to imprison every MP. It will not shut us down. We will criticize you. We will hold your feet to account, and we'll make sure you account for every city you spend. But you know what? The good news is that you are on your way to opposition. You are on your way to opposition. So you should begin thinking. You should begin thinking deep. Because there in someone cells, in someone prison will not be locked up. It will open widely for you. It will swallow many of you. From what we are seeing in public procurement, your situation will be worse. So be careful, those of you who are comfortable. And finally, you claim you want a third term. Third term? Third term. You are not performing. You say third term. Atu Forces, you are here presenting a budget. And beneath it is a third term agenda where you are going to spend money for people to be calling for third term. We are watching you with eagle eyes. Third term, focus on 24-hour economy. You promise one job, 3 shifts. You promise industrialization. Ghanaian businesses have lost confidence in you. You canceled the 1D, 1F, which was creating opportunity for the private sector. In its place, no policy alternative. Electricity tariffs have gone up over almost 30%. Then you get up, you say you are promoting 24-hour economy. You have sacked public sector workers. Many of the Ghanaian youth lost their jobs. You sacked them. Today you are here. Instead of promising to restore them into their rightful places in the job market, you are not doing so. Then you come, you say we should praise you. Who is going to praise you? If you don't pay and you are holding the money and then you are there tightening belt and only paying your party members, then we should praise you. We are not interested in the books. We are interested in the economy in our pockets. People are suffering, Mr. Speaker. People need jobs. Your youth, even your MPs, they are praising you here. A lot of them are hungry. Your backbenchers, they can't go back home. Your backbenchers. And you hear, you say we should praise you. We will not praise you. It is the same old story. Asem Dadana, Mrs. Sai, Mrs. Sai, Mrs. Sai, again, Asem Dadana, Mr. Speaker, arrest my case.
Mr. Speaker,
honorable members, let's listen to each other in silence. I insist that we listen to each other in silence. Yes, Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me, on behalf of the House, thank the Finance Minister for presenting a mid-year review of the budget, which this House approved and authorized him to execute. And Mr. Speaker, I must say that the Finance Minister has given a very good account of himself. Mr. Speaker, just to correct the records, there is no inconsistency between what the Finance Minister said and what his deputy mentioned some time ago. His deputy mentioned that he had given a release of 1.1 billion, 1.6 billion. Today, today the finance minister reported that he has given 1.1 billion to the Ministry of Agriculture and he also paid 551 million for Farmer Services Center. If you put the two together, that's 1.6. That's one. It was presented. You see, the good thing about this media report. The good thing about this media report.
Honorable members, for once, let's listen to each other in silence. Honorable members, please.
The good thing about this report is that it was presented live on national television. Everybody was watching and they saw the figures projected. So if the minority leader engages in a slip of tongue, it is important for me to I just thought I should correct that. I know that he did not benefit from going to Fufulsu Primary School. So his mathematics might not be as good as Honorable Jinapor's mathematics. When you add 551 to 1.1, you get 1.6. So the finance minister and his deputy presented an accurate figure. But Mr. Speaker, we were in this country, in this parliament, and there was a finance minister who told us that he could not run this economy without taxing our Momo transfers. That he could not run this economy without taxing our Momo transfers. A finance minister who could not run the economy without going for debts. Today, we have a finance minister who has abolished all those taxes, and yet he is successfully managing our economy. We have a finance minister who is not borrowing recklessly, but is successfully managing our economy. That is why I said that this finance minister has clearly given a good account of himself. Mr. Speaker.
And so those are scenes from Parliament. We've heard from the majority and the minority side. But now let's get the assessment of our guests today. We've heard a bit from George. Let's go over to the phone lines where Julius Chima joins us with his own assessment. Julius, I'm sure you listened to the whole presentation by the minister. Yesterday, you talked about some areas you want him to address. Would you say that he did justice to it?
So I did follow and I watched the presentation as well. So we are here to go into the analysis of it, but for the purposes of what has happened, we realize that with budget, we have to have a basis to compare, which is the previous year. And nonetheless, what the minister did was to just give us the indication between the targets that was set for 2020 against what has come in, and that is why, or that is what the minister actually presented to us. In that regard, we can just base on it and to do the analysis, but I believe that there is always a basis to compare, which is comparing actual transactions or what transpired in the year 2026 against your actual performances for 2025, because that is where the arguments will really be for targets and for the budget, their estimation. So things that really happen or things that really you can call them as actual things are the things that we can compare the note and see whether as a country we are moving forward with our finances or public finances in general. But so far, what is characterized of every budget is that you will have to give us the target and then compare to whatever has happened. And if we take time to go through the all the indicators compared to the revenue figures, we'll be able to make the analysis and the deductions and see where we are at the moment as a country.
Just a general overview from what the minister has presented. He is given the indication that the economy is in good hands and we are on the right path. Do you think so too?
Yes, it depends on the narrative. It's yes, and then it's also no, depending on the performances of every indicator, because we should be able to compare every indicator one by one from the external sector, from the financial sector, the fiscal sector, as well as the monetary sector. So we need to take our time to go through all these. I could just say that on top of my head, what or where we perform, better was the external sector. You can recall that in terms of balance of payment, we are getting trade surpluses, which the minister alluded to the fact by the presentation he did. We realized that our export has been exceeding our import. And then even that data, if we go into the details, we realize that two of the commodities out of the three, we are doing cocoa, gold, and oil. At the moment, it is gold that is bringing in the cash. Cocoa and oil is not doing too well. For oil, we are net losers. So if we take cocoa export out of the basket, we realize that we are not performing. But overall, if we add the receipt from gold, adding to the basket, we realize that we are performing. So we need to go into the specifics to be able to understand the data and then make the conclusions that we need to make for the purposes of public education. If we talk about the financial sector, we realize that most of the banks are doing well. In fact, if you check the data, total assets, total deposit, and total advances, in summary, access to credit to the private sector, the banks are doing so well. We realize that most of the advances are up, their asset has been consolidated, they don't have so many issues with non-performing loans, and then that has come to increase their total asset. These are the two indicators that I can say that we are doing well as a country. If we go to the growth rate, for instance, with GDP, comparing the current year, which is the 2026, the target as against the actual, we can make the deduction that we are doing well as a country, but it does not happen, or the picture is not same when we compare actuals to actuals. So for 2025, if you look at the actual growth rate for 2025 compared to 2026, we realize that the results that we have recorded in 2026, we have recorded it last year. If we last year, same year, that is June 2025, we did about 6.8 in terms of growth, and now we are doing 6.3. So where is the basis? These are the things that we need to go details into the data and to be able to compare and see what is really happening in the economy. Inflation, it came down. Minister took it from 23.6 or 7, and then it came down to 13. It came down to 3.2. Now it has started picking up again. So we're in a period of disinflation. Currently, they didn't really reflect on the grounds in terms of cost of living and how people are getting, access to money and to be able to make savings and do investment. That is the clear test on the ground, because it's about butter and bread issue. So at the end of the day, if all these indicators, now inflation is going up again, we look at the policy rate from the Bank of Ghana as well. Quickly, as we just said, we are doing 14%. On average for same month or the first quarter in 2026, we are doing an average of 15%. So these are indicators that we need to focus on to be able to see going forward what will be the new, announcement of policy rate, what the Bank of Ghana is going to do to be able to stem up appetite in the private sector for businesses to get access to more funding, and at the end of the day, they can plow back into their businesses and create jobs for, the youth that are really unemployed. So it's not just about the generality of the whole data, but going into the specific. Lastly, if you look at the fiscal data, that is one of my areas that I love so much. Comparing, the revenues that came in after the abolishment of, the taxes that we saw earlier on 2025. If you look at 2026, clearly the revenues are not coming in, and that is why there's some form of going to borrow. And we've just seen last week from Parliament that they are going to borrow about some 47 billion to support education and then eradicate double track system in the country. If you look at the domestic financing and external financing, you realize that all these figures has been captured in the fiscal data of the Ministry of Finance. So I just want us to go, maybe coming days ahead when we are doing the post-budget analysis, we'll be able to go into details and compare relevant years or prior year, actuals to actuals, and then we can build a conversation. But just looking at the current year with your own target you've set for yourself, and looking at your own results that have happened in the same year, it wouldn't be too enough to be able to make the deductions for whether or not we are moving forward or we are building up, our economy. But in general, overall, we could see that so far as we are discussing targets and then actuals for the relevant year or for the year under discussion, since the minister have exceeded the target in terms of growth, in terms of inflation, in terms of our gross international reserve, which they have a program to mop up more reserves in the system. But that notwithstanding, on gross international reserve, we realize that it has decreased from the 14.1 billion to somewhere 12.4, 12.9 billion. And that has also affected our net international reserves as well. So there are so many narratives we can put or we can make from the budget, and at the end of the day, we can decide better for the purposes of public education.
Well, certainly, Julius, in the coming days, we will be coming to you. We'll lead you to have some time to really study the indicators, look at the figures, and do the comparison so we can tell the true state of our economy. Julius Jima is an economist, but we'll be wrapping up our conversation shortly. We'll leave you in the hands of Parliament, as we'll also have to go and analyze the figures and prepare for the evening news. But our second guest is on the line.
Yeah. And then we have, who do we have again?
Hamid of Budgets.
So we have Hamid of Budgets. Budget Foundation, they use technology to interact with citizens to, to address things like this. So you would find them analyzing this budget by getting the ordinary Ghanaians speaking on it. Then they put all of that into an interesting research and present into a paper for us to read. So Hamid is senior researcher over there. Hello, Hamid. Can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I know you are not in the country, but you had time to watch. I'm grateful for that and for waiting. What would be your initial reaction to this? We'll have time to do the proper analysis later, but first impressions, are you impressed?
Well, looking at it from the face value, let's take it from the face value, we could say the progress is, it's quite okay. But when we are looking into it, actuals against the targets and all that, we see there are a bit of deficit. So let's look at issues around revenue mobilization. So there are the numbers. We had targets that we were looking for it to reach, targets that we needed to hit. But here's the case that we have shortfall. So, for instance, let's look at the for the first quarter. Government was looking at generating somewhere around 62 billion, but we ended up with 57.5 billion. And those shortfalls are there. The question is, what resulted to that? Was it the taxation reform, or what? These are some of the tiny things that put across when the delivery is being made. Let's say when the reading of the budget was being done. So these are some of the things that we need to look at, sit back, take a very critical look, so we can actually report the actuals.
All right, Hamid, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Hamid?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know you are talking about revenue mobilization, but the network is not making your output too clear. Can you go over it, maybe in a very simple summary for us to appreciate what you are saying?
Oh, okay, sure. So I was just some of the actuals that are currently. So we had a projection of some 2 for the first half of the year. That's in terms of revenue mobilization. But the turnout was somewhere around 57.5 billion. So I was talking about these tiny shortfalls within within the budget itself. These are some of the things that the minister didn't really point out when he was reading the budget. So I was saying that these are some of the things that we need to sit back and then take a very critical look into, so we can report the real issues on ground to the general public. But in general, the performance is moving forward is quite considerable.
We'll come back to you again and have a proper analysis of the whole statement, or as delivered by the finance minister. And I know your organization will also do a thorough work, and I'm really looking forward to engaging that material later. But thank you for sticking and staying with us, and hopefully I'm confident we are going to get back to you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
All right, so that's Hamid Abdul Mumuni. He's a senior research officer at Budget Ghana. So I think we are wrapping up now, right?
Yes, we are, because we need to go get ready for the evening news.
Yep.
But we would like to get the thoughts of George before we go. We heard from Julius. He says the numbers, we need to digest the numbers, digest the numbers, so we can give a true assessment of where we stand as a nation. I want to get your final thoughts before we end our coverage.
Okay. So my colleagues have said quite a number of things, and I agree to almost everything that they said. If you look at the numbers on the face value, they all look very good. But we need to dissect all of them one by one, break all of them into pieces. Because like one of my colleagues, like Julius mentioned, the budget target for GDP was 4.8, and currently government has done, as our first quarter, they had done 6.4. And currently, it's best to compare the actuals of now to that of last year.
Yeah, same time
to
last
see,
year.
instead of rather the budget, because the budget is just a forecast of what you want.
Yeah.
But what did you actually achieve last year? And so if you look at what has been achieved this quarter, which is achieved as up to date, which is 6.3, which is below that of that of last year, we need to also find the variance. Where are the differences coming from? Which sector is underperforming? And so I believe that once you're able to break them into pieces and go into details, would help. An example is also the revenue. The tax revenue, the target was around 268 billion cedis. Currently, government is also behind that target, looking at breaking the revenue into slots. We currently see that government is also behind that. Also, what is the cost of those variances? Which area? Is it the oil sector? Is it the tax revenues? Which other area is it coming from? We need to also dissect and see all of that. So yeah, I believe we need to we need to have another comprehensive one where we touch on all the elements into details, and then
And hopefully with the help of analysts like George, Julius, and Hamid, we'll be able to do that. But this is where we draw the curtains on our coverage. But we will bring you more at 7 p.m. on Newsroom. We will still be giving you shots from Parliament, just so we keep you in the loop as to what's happening. But just keep watching Bullet TV, where we'll bring you all the latest you need to know. Well, it's goodbye from me, Karen Aintree. I'll be back on your screens at 7. But Aben,
make a time with us tomorrow on Morning Target. I'm sure we'll have some time for this, and maybe you'll get the chance to vent. Not rent, vent.
Rant or vent.
And all of it, we just want to hear your opinion as far as this reading is concerned. I think it was too long, but it's okay.
Anyway, thank you very much for making the time. Enjoy the rest of our programming.